It's Sac Town Sports 1140. Sac Town Sports headlines.
I'm Christopher Lott with your Sac Town Sports headlines. Sacramento Kings big man Domantas Sabonis has been diagnosed with an avulsion fracture of the ulnar collateral ligament of the right thumb. Sabonis suffered the injury in the Kings' 125-111 loss to the Wizards last Friday. The team has listed Sabonis as questionable in tonight's game against the Nuggets. You can listen to the game and every Kings game right here on Sactown Sports 1140. Miami Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa has once again entered the NFL's concussion protocol following the team's loss to the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. Tua admitted to having concussion symptoms on Monday and was placed in the protocol. Dolphins head coach Mike McDaniel said it's too early to say if Tua or backup quarterback Teddy Bridgewater will start this Sunday against the New England Patriots. The Denver Broncos announced yesterday, following their 51-14 loss to the Los Angeles Rams on Sunday, that they have fired first-year head coach Nathaniel Hackett. Hackett went 4-11 in his first season as head coach. Assistant coach Jerry Rosberg has been named the team's interim head coach for the remainder of the season. That's your Sactown Sports headline, and now it's time for the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show.
He's on the microphone. When he's not on the microphone, he's playing a song. And when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone. And then boom.
With Jason Ross.
Jay, hey, my headset's
Text or call the show at 916-339-1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sactown Sports 1140.
Hey there. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome in. Happy Tuesday, December 27th, 2022. Jason Ross here with you. And the lovely and talented Christopher Lott. Chris and I think, have worked every possible shift together at this station. I think.
Probably.
Definitely mornings now. We have before today. Middays, afternoons. Kings games at night. Pretty much all of them.
Used to do weekends.
Yeah.
The Big Show.
The Big Show. Did you do The Big Show?
I think I helped out with it.
Maybe that, or what was the show that Marsh and I used to do? The MVPs or something like that.
Oh, yeah, I did that one
a couple times. Yeah. Hi, Chris. How are you?
Good.
Yeah? You sold that. You're that good, huh?
I'm happy to be here.
Are you?
I am.
We are literally, no joke, the only people here.
Yes.
It's that time of year where people take off. I was off last week. Dave and Jay are off this week. I think the country station's off. I mean, they're on. They're playing music, but nobody is here. And it was wet and rainy and just pouring all night. And we're here. We're here for you. We are here to have fun over the next couple of hours. Your opportunity to check us out, as always, on YouTube. We say hello to you there. We thank those of you that are doing that. Certainly text us at 916-339-1140. Plenty for us to discuss today, and we will get into all of that with Sean Salisbury, his regular appearance on Tuesday. No show yesterday, so Matt Barrows will join us. He will be with us at 8 o'clock. And there are lots of things to get to. We're going to get to leading off in just a moment. But was your holiday good? Your Christmas good?
Yeah, no complaints.
Best thing. Did you guys do your family tradition?
What's that?
Don't you guys make tamales around Christmas, or is it New Year's?
Thanksgiving.
Or Thanksgiving. I was way off. Okay. But you had a good Christmas?
Yeah, hung out with the family. Had a good time.
Yeah.
Made the fantasy football finals.
Oh, you wanted to get that in.
Yeah.
So championships this week?
Yes.
Is your lineup tight? Feel good? Ready to go?
I got Patrick Mahomes, so no worries there.
Was that? I know some people would say don't take him first. Did you take him first?
I took him second.
Okay. Who was your first round pick? Do you remember?
Derrick Henry.
Okay. So those two are leading you to the...
Actually, technically, I think I took him third. I took Derrick Henry, Tyreek Hill, and Patrick Mahomes.
That's why you're in the finals. That's real. All right, let's do it. Let's start you off with leading off.
Let's do it. It's time for Leading Off. Brought to you by Lasher's Elk Grove Dodge, where for over 60 years, their name means a great deal in Elk Grove Auto Mall and online at elkgrovedodge.com. Here's cut number one.
The Kings, who had won 5 of the last 6 against the Wizards, end up losing for the second time in the first 3 games on this homestand. And in both instances, it was an opponent who was playing on the second night of a back-to-back. The final is 125-111. There will be no beam lit to lead us into Christmas tonight in Sacramento. Tough night, J. Ross.
It was. I agree. G-Man was spot on that. Kings didn't play very well so far in this homestand. Yeah, they beat the Lakers, but the loss to Charlotte, the loss on Friday to the Wizards doesn't get any easier at all with back-to-back against the league's best. Starting tonight, the Denver Nuggets in town. Chris just said it in the update, too, about the injury to Domantas Sabonis. Lots for us to discuss on that today. The merits about whether or not he should play or shouldn't play, how much value he has to this team. I mean, he is doing everything. He's had back-to-back triple-doubles. He's playing out of this world. And by all accounts right now, he's going to try to play. That's scary. But I don't know. And we'll go over to it in further detail. But a lot of times when you look at this injury, and there's been some medical experts that have kind of cited other NBA players, the average time missed when a player goes for surgery has been about 55 days. And that's, let's just cut that in half for games, 25 games. If you play 25 games without Domantas Sabonis, I don't even want to see what that looks like for the Kings. Can they win some games without him? Of course. I don't think they'll win that many, though. I think he's the most irreplaceable player, especially the way they play. And I think the way they've been set up is so much centered around him. I appreciate his toughness if he's going to try to go. If it's limiting his game, then you've got to do something different. But we won't know that until tonight. So it's the first of two, and it's in back-to-back nights. Tonight they host Denver. Tomorrow night they host Denver. They haven't even faced the Nuggets yet. And by the way, they have the best record in the Western Conference. So really tough situation for them. But the Kings begin that back-to-back at G1C tonight. We'll see how that goes. Of course, coverage will begin at 5:30 with game night. Pregame at 6:30. Tip-off at 7. Let's get to cut number 2.
Cut number 2.
I don't know crap about, medical stuff. It's one of those things that initially you think it could be a long time, and he's listed as questionable tomorrow based on what all the medical experts say. But we've been running the same stuff since, training camp started. So everybody is capable. Obviously, our other bigs aren't the type to bring it in transition and make a play for himself or for others. At least I don't think so yet. So that part will change. But in terms of what we do, it's all the same. And I said this before, we can hit those guys and we can play split action, or those guys could come right up in the ball screens. So at worst, you may see a little bit more ball screens if he doesn't play, but it's going to be basically the same type of stuff.
Yeah, I think there will be some adjustments. That's Mike Brown giving an update. And the good news is, by all accounts, it's better sounding than maybe some of the initial reports. Now, the initial reports, like I said, if they're going for surgery for Domantas Sabonis, then, he's going to be out some substantial amount of time. That is not the plan as of now. So playing through some discomfort, it is his offhand. How well can he play without it? That's something I think we're just going to have to watch and see. Now, yesterday reports when the Kings had practice that Alex Len was with the first team, and maybe Sabonis is just going to do limited court work or just training and stay in condition and try to limit his number of opportunities to hit that hand to play. And maybe it's just going to be all game time action. And if it's something that can't get worse and it's a pain tolerance thing, I guess you go for it. And like I said, the average time missed for surgery on something like this that I had read has been about, let's see, what is that? About 8 weeks. That's the average time missed. That's awful for the Kings if that happens. Now, there was a player most recently, Avery Bradley, had this about 3 years ago and didn't miss a game. Now, Avery Bradley and Domantas Sabonis, completely different players, completely different values to teams. So that's something, certainly that's the weighing of the importance of what he's doing to the team, the importance of how he's playing for this team, and how can they function without him, or how is he functioning while playing injured. And so that's something we might find out as soon as tonight. But if they have to go down the road of surgery, if they have to do that, I would say do it sooner than later, because everything you put off keeps pushing that back. And yeah, we're still not quite to the middle part of the season. You got an all-star break coming and still about 7 weeks away. So that might help you in your timeline of recovery. But let's hope he can play through some of the pain, play through some of the discomfort, and find a way to function as well or as close to as well as he was, because Domantas Sabonis means the world to this team. All right, more on that coming up. Let's get cut number 3.
Cut number 3.
We're talking about you're going to go against an incredible quarterback or coach or something that has a lot of experience.
This is going to go the distance. Second pick of the game for Kobe Durant. He started it off, didn't he, earlier in the game with a big interception, and he finishes the game with a big interception. Merry Christmas to Kobe Durant. He's going to remember this one forever.
Jim Nantz. Hello, friends. Tony Romo on the call from CBS. That was one of those games that was on Christmas Day. That was a snooze fest. That was Denver and the Rams. Got out of hand. Rams aren't very good, and the Rams blew out Denver. And immediately following that, the next day, yesterday, we find out that the Broncos have fired Nathaniel Hackett. Didn't even finish the first season. He made it 15 games. He was let go. This team was a colossal mess this year. They mortgaged their future around Russell Wilson. He no longer looks like a quarterback that can function very well. And when you start to backtrack and look at the end of his run at Seattle, he honestly wasn't playing very well then either, but he's been awful this year. And I think this has been the most misrepresented division in the offseason. Everybody talked about the AFC West, was maybe going to get all four teams in. Best division in football, bar none. That was the thought. No doubt about it, best division in football. Well, we'll get into the Chargers, who won last night, coming up in our next segment. But they have made the playoffs. Chris was just talking about Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. They're in. They're good. Raiders, epic failure this year. Broncos, even worse than the Raiders. And now they're going through a coaching search already. I don't know what they're going to do about the quarterback position. But the Broncos had a good defense coming in, tried to make some adjustments to the offense, and just the thought of Nathaniel Hackett's offensive mind with Russell Wilson was going to be a team that could possibly be in the Super Bowl. They are not. They are awful, and they're regrouping again. We'll go over some of the coaching candidates a little bit later, too. We'll talk about some of this as well with Sean Salisbury when he joins us in the 8 o'clock hour. But the Broncos looking for a head coach, looking to figure out where they went wrong with many of their offseason moves as they fired Nathaniel Hackett after 15 games. All right, we are just getting started here. We mentioned the Chargers. They did secure a postseason spot with their win last night, but who was also in our top 5 of our NFL power rankings? The latest on that, that's all coming up next.
They've been here for a combined 50 years. The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sac Town Sports 1140.
Hey, once again, good morning. Jason Ross in. No Carmichael Dave, no Jay Mars. Christopher Lott is here, though Carmichael Dave is in the chat room. He's here. He's awake, unless that's fake Carmichael Dave. But I think it's him.
It's my burner.
It's your burner? Well, if you have stuff for Carmichael Dave, the burner, Chris Verlot account can answer those questions. I know when I was off, and certainly some of the time off, I was dealing with kidney stones, Chris. Oof, not fun. And to my knowledge, still hasn't been passed.
Oh no!
But I'm not in pain, so that's fine. I don't think I've passed this guy. Everybody has told me that I would know. And have you had a kidney stone before?
Nope.
Yeah, I had not either. Very painful on the moving from the kidney to the bladder. And I think like once it gets to the bladder, you're basically quote unquote home free. And that movement, oh my gosh, brutal, just brutal. And it's either dissolved so small. I don't know. I have, again, go to the, which is not a smart thing to do, but you read everything possible on the internet and WebMD and all these things. And I'm like, okay, wait, the kidney stone, the size the doctor said it was, it could take 18 to 40 days to pass. That's what it read. That's what I read.
And how many days ago was that?
Today is 21.
All right. So 19 more days to go.
Well, if it's pain-free, that's fine. But maybe it's made it through. I don't know. But anyway, I was in that time off, and the time off I was not getting up at 6 a.m. That's for sure. So it can't be David is probably the burner account with you. So if you have questions for not Carmichael Dave, certainly send those in as well. But if you want to reach us, certainly check us out on our YouTube page. We appreciate all of you that are out there watching us. Like, subscribe. We appreciate that. And text us this morning, 916-339-1140. All right. So last night we had Monday Night Football.
Sort of.
Yeah. The Colts are there. Chargers won. Chargers get into the postseason. They deserve to be. I think they have the look of a playoff team, though sometimes I feel like they're a little underwhelming. But it doesn't matter. All you have to do is get hot in the postseason. I wasn't that impressed, honestly, last year with the Cincinnati Bengals. And then they had a great postseason, and they made it to the Super Bowl and were a game away from being a Super Bowl champ. That's all that really matters. So the Chargers could be that team. I think when they're right, they could beat anybody. So I think they're a legitimate threat in the AFC playoff picture. But it just felt like they were all right last night. Eckler had a couple of touchdowns. Herbert's a good player. I think they've got a lot of the pieces to be good. Just little up and down for me, but a good season. They secure a postseason berth. The Colts have been a mess this year.
I think as soon as they realize, the Colts aren't going to do anything on offense, like, why risk it?
The Colts are just searching, playing different. Now they're playing Nick Foles. They had Matt Ryan. They played Sam Ehlinger. Bring back Andrew Luck. Play Phillip Rivers. Play Peyton.
That would be exciting.
It would be.
It would be fun and exciting.
You have this quote or this clip. I did not see this. I watched some of the game last night, but I didn't see this part. This is from the first quarter last night?
Coming back to the second quarter. Joe Buck breaking down the first quarter.
So do you think he just improv? I haven't heard this yet. You told me a little bit of it. Do you think he just improv this, or do you think it's scripted?
No, it's definitely improv.
Okay. Let's see. Is it going to feel more like Saturday Night Live or a real football breakdown?
Saturday Night Live.
Okay. This is Joe Buck coming back from the first quarter into the second quarter yesterday of Monday Night Football.
That was a fun first quarter. 5 first downs, 4 punts, 3 interceptions, 2 successful challenges, no third down conversions, and a partridge in a...
Oh, you got a game up on it.
We've all been there. Oh, where am I going with this?
Yeah, where am I going? And the awkward laugh for Aikman is like, hey, this is starting okay. And then he doesn't know how to finish it, which is a lot like Saturday Night Live. They've got a good concept, a good skit, and then they just don't know how to end the skit. I want to hear this again.
That was a fun first quarter. 5 first downs, 4 punts, 3 interceptions, 2 successful challenges, no third down conversions, and a partridge in a...
Yeah, I think he missed one, didn't he? It's all right. Should have started with 6. Good work, though, Joe. That's the kind of game it was. It's like, I'm going to come back singing the 12 Days of Christmas using football for this game. Yeah, rough watch. Rough watch last night. But the Chargers didn't win. They've secured themselves a postseason berth. And, this is something that Dave and I talk a lot about. Even some of these rough Thursday night games, some of these rough Monday night games, we're going to be wishing we had some of those come July and August. We'll take any kind of football. Then you get, I don't want to watch Chargers and Colts. Well, can't be too picky. It's still football. Do you want to watch it or not? And so we hopefully have, to me, this part of the season, when you're now getting to week, I guess in this case, 17 and 18 of the final 2 weeks, there's so much on the line, and the best football is hopefully ahead, but also what this means is there's less football, right? I mean, we have more playoff teams than ever, but you're kind of isolated onto one game, and that's a little bit what happened on Christmas Day, let's say. I thought the middle game that we just played the highlight from earlier about the Broncos, it was just awful. This is an awful football game. The Raiders and Steelers ended up being entertaining.
I would say the Broncos,
Dolphins Packers was okay.
The Broncos Rams game was entertaining if you're watching it on Nickelodeon.
You know what? I didn't do that this year.
Watching Patrick Starfish roast Russell Wilson.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Patrick got him. I remember the first year of the Nickelodeon game. I went, I don't know. And then I turned it on and went, I'm actually entertained by this. And some of the stuff was so rudimentary, so basic that they're trying to explain the game to the kids. And I'm like, yeah, well, holding. Holding is when, and then they actually kind of broke down the rule, and it's like, and then you get 10 yards as a penalty and an infraction, and you have to move back. I'm like, I mean, it's all stuff you kind of know, but you just kind of take for granted. And they're almost describing the different kind of holds. And then, of course, when they get into the gimmicks and the slime and the different characters from Nickelodeon, was it good this year?
I only watched the first part. I watched the interception.
And I got to say, Noah Eagle, Nate Burleson do a great job. And there's another young lady from Nickelodeon. They do a good job together as a crew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I didn't watch that version, although I probably should have. The Packers-Dolphins game was probably the best from Christmas, even though the Tua situation is, that's a tough thing to watch right now. So, with all that said, we've now played 16 weeks of football. So, we got to give you, at least our latest, we usually like to do this, our power rankings, the top 5 teams, in my mind, that are in football right now. And that's juggled, that's changed over time. And it's been tough. Sometimes we've put in some teams almost based on their record is so good, you have to put them there, like, for example, like the Vikings. You almost feel like, man, how do you ignore this team at 12-3? But I just don't know that they're very good. And their scoring differential, I got to look at that because are they back above? Yeah, they're +5 for the whole year. They've won 9 more games than they've lost, and they're only +5 in the scoring differential. But, all right, so here we go. From 5 to 1 for me, I am going to put the 49ers back in there. This team has won 8 in a row. They probably should be higher than 5. I think they're loaded for a great postseason run. They don't have a ton of weaknesses. There was so much concern about the quarterback position in Brock Purdy, and he's been great. He's done a good job. Reinforcements are coming too. I'm going to put them at 5, and that might even be low for the 49ers. At number 4, I've had them in there before. I'm going to keep them in there. They're also hot. They've won 7 in a row, and they were in the Super Bowl last year. The Cincinnati Bengals. 11-4, by the way, now. So same record as the 49ers. At number 3, I have winners. I mean, all these teams are hot right now of what they've done here recently. They did lose last week. I really shouldn't penalize them, but they aren't as good without Jalen Hurts. The Philadelphia Eagles still have an incredible record, 13-2, though I feel like if the NFC playoffs started today, I don't know how many people would pick the Eagles, and they would be the 1 seed. It's interesting. I think people would still pick maybe the Cowboys or the 49ers over them. That's my belief, though Philly's had an amazing year. At number 2, I'm going to put the Chiefs there, though you could argue them at number 1, and I have the Bills at 1 because the Bills beat them earlier. That's all. That's the difference. What's that?
Interesting.
Yeah. I know you always have the Chiefs number 1 and Patrick Mahomes, 10 MVPs, right?
Yep.
It's on his way to number 2.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes. I think that's the race. Am I missing somebody? I know there's other candidates, but those are the 2 best.
And I think Patrick Mahomes is on his own right now.
Yeah, Hurts was a really good bet preseason because the odds were higher. So, I mean, you're going to win a lot more money. I think those are the 2 best candidates at the moment. Yeah, but I think it is Patrick Mahomes to win. All right, so those are the power rankings, 5-1, 49ers at 5, Bengals at 4, Eagles at 3, Chiefs at 2, Bills at 1, and I'm leaving the Cowboys out, leaving the Vikings out, but that is my top 5. All right, when we come back, 8 straight wins. The last loss was before Halloween. Can the 49ers be stopped? And also, who's set to return for the 49ers? We have that when we come back.
Live and local.
Live and local.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
Today I'm at Elk Grove Dodge, where it looks like Vince Bloom, the big guy.
Also known as Father Christmas.
Well, yeah, Vince, you are.
Hey, that's me. Want to remind you, time to check out Coastside Medical Clinic, who's dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. That's right, Jason Ross in today. Carmichael Dave off this week, so is Jay Mars. As we hope everybody is having a good break, good holiday, being safe out there. Very wet. We got a lot of rain coming up this week, which we need. It's always good, but be safe out there. I know travel issues. You look at all that stuff on social media, all these airport situations, pretty gnarly out there. So be safe. Just take your time. Be good out there. Make good choices.
Take your time. Do it right.
That's right.
We can do it, baby.
Do it right. Wait. Do it tonight. I got there. Did you see? You said you did see Knives Out, Chris. The first.
I did.
I like that movie. Did you like the movie?
I liked it, but I can't remember anything about it.
Did make an impact on you then? Okay. I was anxious for the second one, Glass Onion, which is it's not really. I don't think you need to see the first one. There's one character that carries over. That's it. Otherwise, they're kind of independent of one another. But it was good. I enjoyed it. Saw that one over the break. I would recommend that. Give it a thumbs up. I know you are a different kind of movie connoisseur. You are someone I will go to for movie suggestions, but I take that. I don't know. I don't always watch everything you say.
No, I don't like what you're saying right now.
Why?
I tell you movies that I like, but when you ask like, "Hey, what's a movie I should see?" I think of something that you would want to see. I don't give you something that I would want to see.
But you tell me about a lot of the other movies that you see.
Yeah, but I would never suggest.
What's the last movie you suggested that I see that you can remember?
MacGruber.
That's the last one. It was like 5 years ago I saw that, and that was very good. I enjoyed it.
I gotta think.
But MacGruber's your favorite movie ever.
Yeah.
And anytime someone puts anything like a movie quote that you can, and you always put something in MacGruber, and I always end up liking it. I would say, and this is where you're going to get upset, but over the time, Sean Cunningham has given me I would say, some of the best movie suggestions.
I've gotten suggestions from Sean, and they've usually been bad.
I knew you were going to say that. What was the last movie suggestion?
I don't know. I can't remember anything.
So you have to back that up with facts.
I can't think of a movie that Sean suggested that I went and saw and I liked.
Okay, well, we were eating, what game was it the other night? Kings and Wizards. We were all at the same table there eating dinner at Golden One Center, and he was talking about a couple movies, and he brought up this movie.
I think you should leave. I suggested I think you should leave, and I think you've been very surprised by that.
Wait, which movie is that now?
It's not a movie. It's the show on Netflix with Tim Robinson.
Oh, yes. Well, you only show me clips, and those clips are always very funny.
Well, that's the whole show.
I know, but I haven't seen an episode of it besides what you've shown me, which feels like I've seen about 10 episodes. But Sean suggested this movie, Vengeance, on Peacock, I think. Yeah, it's on Peacock. And BJ Novak from The Office, whatever. I not really tied to him, and it was good. It was entertaining. Different than I thought it would be. So he suggested that one. We watched it last night. Good on you, Sean. So if you come up with a movie for me this week.
Okay.
Then
I will, and it'll be better than Vengeance.
Okay. I'm not saying it's the greatest movie of all time, but I'm anxious to hear your movie suggestion.
I'm glad you didn't say what I thought of the movie.
No, I did not, because you also then characterized me as what your description was of the movie without even saying it. Oh my gosh. All right, so the 40.
And now I can't go see the movie because I already have that in my head that I'm not going to like it.
No, you don't want to like it.
Yeah.
That's unfair. I shouldn't have even said it. The rest of you, check it out if you want. But I would say Glass Onion you would enjoy. All right, so the 49ers, since we were gone, did win. They beat the Washington Commanders. Took a little bit of while to get going. Was that tied at half? Yeah, it was 7-7 at half. I thought Brock Purdy was good again. He had the one unfortunate interception. That was really more on Jennings, who kind of had that juggling double tip, interception that really led it right to the Commanders. But after that, after halftime, and the defense has been so good. So good, and we're zeroing in basically on Bosa getting Defensive Player of the Year. So you've got the 49ers defense in full control. The concern first when Trey Lance, then when Jimmy G went down, was can the offense continue to shine? Okay, then Debo goes out. You've had time where Elijah Mitchell's been out twice, and different people have been out. Right now, Kittle's been in a great groove. I think the play calling the last couple of weeks, the scheming, has been very good by Kyle Shanahan. And I know there's a large portion of people out there that when the Niners lose, they throw everything at Kyle Shanahan. And you're the coach, you get blame, of course. But I've always felt he's a better play caller than people give him credit for. For the haters, so let's say it that way. And I think some of the things he's schemed the last couple of weeks have directly led to touchdowns. Let's see, it was 2 or 3 weeks ago. There was a screen pass. Now, part of this is blocking the way it's set up where Purdy it's a shotgun snap, fakes the screen right, pivots, or fakes the screen left, pivots, fakes right, then goes right back down the middle. And Kittle couldn't be more open, catches it, Kittle down the middle, touchdown. Ran a play similar to that this week, Kittle down the middle, touchdown. I think he schemed some really beautiful plays to help the 49ers, to help Brock Purdy. He throws for 200 plus, a couple of touchdowns, did have the pick. But you're now getting to the point, Niner fans, where I believe if you're like me, where you're not even feeling like that's an issue because they haven't lost with Brock Purdy. He hasn't been perfect, but you get the feeling like he is a really good complementary piece to what they're doing offensively. Now, what's becoming interesting, I don't know if it will become an issue, but you got guys that are getting healthier. For one, Elijah Mitchell. There's talk that he could return and get off IR and be available for Week 18. Deebo Samuel, according to reports, could be activated and possibly even return to practice by the end of this week and maybe available for the Raiders this weekend. If not, Week 18, certainly by the postseason. And the last piece of the puzzle is James Garoppolo, Jimmy G. I think the obvious answer to that is you keep going with Brock Purdy. But, and this is something we can ask Matt Barrows at the 8 o'clock hour, if Jimmy G is good and cleared and healthy, do you go back to Jimmy G? I say no for a couple of reasons. One, Jimmy G has never been thought of, well, we'll bring up the quarterback Chris mentioned earlier, Patrick Mahomes. You're not, Patrick Mahomes isn't coming back from injury. It's Jimmy G. Good quarterback, a winner, a part of the puzzle. Teammates like him, great leader. There's plenty of good things about Jimmy Garoppolo. But I think right now, the win streak that the 49ers are on, which some of it was Jimmy G, a lot of it has been Brock Purdy. He's looked great. He's looked comfortable. He's looked poised. I think the team likes him. I think you run the risk of disrupting the rhythm that the team is in. Now, I don't know that it has to be at the first sign of something shaky with Brock Purdy to go back to Jimmy G. Again, Jimmy G may not even be ready till later in the playoffs. So I don't even think this is, I mean, it's more of a fun radio conversation and a water cooler or internet conversation, but I don't think it's going to become a thing. I think you go with Brock Purdy unless he gets injured, and then you go back to Jimmy G. But at this point, the machine is rolling. The defense is as strong as it's ever been. Special teams are sound. You've got a really good run game. You've got skilled players. And if you're getting Mitchell and Deebo back, it's going to make Purdy even better and more difficult for the opposing teams to handle. And the Niners have to feel good of what they do at home, how they play on the road, what they have left. It's Vegas this weekend and Arizona. And we're going to go over the playoff picture here in our next segment. But this is looking very, very good. And I got to believe everyone out there, and maybe I'll put it out on the text line at 916-339-1140 or on YouTube. Don't you feel comfortable at this point with Brock Purdy? As A.A. Ron says, definitely would put the Niners between a Brock and a hard place. Nice. Nicely done. I think this is a situation where it's his team right now. They're playing well. Kyle Shanahan looks comfortable with the offense. The team looks comfortable with him. They're rolling. They're hot. They've got this thing figured out, and you just keep going and see if you can make this win streak win out, right? I mean, you've won 8 in a row, haven't lost till before Halloween. And at that time, if you look back at the season, when the 49ers last lost, that was to the Chiefs. They just acquired Christian McCaffrey. They just got him. So you beat the Rams, Chargers, Cardinals, Saints, Dolphins, Buccaneers, Seahawks, Commanders. You got Raiders and Cardinals. They'll be favored in both. I could believe they could win both those games. They're going to want to keep winning to keep the pressure on the Vikings and the Eagles, teams ahead of them, and the Cowboys that are tied with them. Just got to keep this thing rolling. All right, Capital Casino, conveniently located at 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. When we come back, we mentioned the playoff picture 2 weeks to go in the NFL regular season. Who's in, who's out, who's looking good? We've got that next.
Breaking news, the latest happenings with your favorite teams.
You ever wonder about what the heck all these kids are doing?
stimulating conversation about kitchen gadgets and baseball cards.
I think that's really crazy interesting.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sac Town Sports 1140.
Yeah, we continue to roll along here. Jason Ross in. Carmichael Dave is off this week, so is Jay Mars. Christopher Lott hanging with me today. We appreciate that. Coming up at 8, Matt Barrows from The Athletic will join us. A lot of Niners talk coming up. Niners are just looking so good right now, and they've got to feel good about the position they're in with guys coming back too, the way they're playing. And then Sean Salisbury joins us for his weekly visit. That'll be coming up around 8:15. So we're talking NFL. We're going to have plenty of Kings discussion coming up too. We're going to get that started in our next hour because we got to get into this Domantas Sabonis injury. But first, let's kind of wrap things up NFL-wise as we finished another week of the season. Man, it's winding down. Just 2 weeks to go. The playoff picture is starting to take shape. We've got some teams. Let's start with the teams that are done and eliminated officially. Chicago, Arizona, Atlanta, and the Rams. Man, what a disappointing follow-up to the Super Bowl for the Rams. Just 5-10, even coming off that win. They've had some weird wins, too, with the Baker Mayfield and Raider game, blowing out the Broncos and basically ultimately getting Nathaniel Hackett fired this last weekend. But those teams are out. The entire NFC South is still alive because Tampa just doesn't want to win this thing. They're 7-8, but that leaves New Orleans and Carolina. I said the entire, but Atlanta's out. But it still leaves New Orleans and Carolina in as possibilities. Green Bay, Detroit, and Seattle all have a chance. But if the playoffs started today, you got Philly would be the 1 seed in the West, or in the NFC, excuse me. Minnesota 2, San Francisco 3. They've all clinched spots. Tampa Bay 4 haven't clinched yet. Dallas is in at 5. Giants and Washington. The setup looks really good to me for the 49ers right now because they would currently be 3. They would play the Giants. I would like the Niners there in San Francisco. If there's some shuffling and it's the Commanders, the Niners just played them and didn't have much trouble there. They're likely not going to get the Cowboys, so that's a good spot to be in. Other potential teams that could be in that 6-7 range that the Niners are likely going to be playing, Seattle, Detroit. I know a lot of people are like, don't let Green Bay in because you wouldn't want to face Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I would. He didn't scare me. It's not the same guy. Green Bay is just very ordinary. They're very ordinary. They're 7-8. They've been a 13-win team the last couple of years and still get bounced. They're just not very good.
And they won on Sunday because the Dolphins kept giving them the ball.
He threw 3 picks, and now he's in concussion. I mean, I feel so badly for him personally. His head is just mush right now. All season, is this the 3rd time he's in protocol?
2nd, but it's the 3rd time he should have been in protocol.
Right, because you're right. They had the gap where he was not in protocol. He's cleared to go. By whom? Why? And then he clearly was not right. So he's been shaky. But okay, Philadelphia has the best record. I think they're really good. Minnesota, I'm not buying in, but they're 12-3. They play the closest games every week, always decided by 1 score. I know I was off last week, but they stole that game against the Colts 2 weeks ago. Largest comeback in NFL regular season, but they did. They were part of it. Tampa, I've been waiting to get going. I just don't know that they will. I think Dallas is good. Feels like Dallas, San Francisco, and Philadelphia can come out of the NFC. That's what I would say. I don't think Minnesota can. I don't see anybody between Tampa, the Giants, Washington, if Detroit, Seattle, Green Bay get in. I just can't see any of those teams getting hot and running through that NFC. Just too many flaws in some of those other teams. In the AFC, the teams that are out, Houston, Denver, Indianapolis, and Cleveland. The Raiders somehow, some way, are still alive at 6-9.
And like I say in the afternoon, every single week, if they're going to turn the season around, it starts this Sunday.
Against the 49ers. That game is going to be wild. In Vegas, January 1st, Niners, Raiders.
Who's that going to be a home game for?
I'm going to say Raiders. Technically Raiders, yes, but I'm also going to still say Raiders. But I feel like the Raider fans are going to fight each other.
Oh, yeah.
Let's not have fights, guys, but they're going to be fights. It just happens. Pittsburgh
but
still.
That seems like a travel game for the Niners fans, right?
Yeah, Niner fans will, I guess, go. I wonder, there's probably some breakdown of what the Raider games attendance have been like. I mean, the crowds have been good, but you hear it every time. And like, they just played New England in that crazy game. And
could you imagine being a Patriots fan?
Who would go to that game? But there were a lot of Patriots fans. And if you stay to the end and you were a Patriots fan and you watch the end of that.
If you had your dumb friend sending you videos after one of the worst losses of all time.
Well, who
You're
would
a
do
true
that?
Patriots fan.
No one would do that. Do you want to explain that?
My buddy went to the game, and then that happened, and then I made fun of him, and then I started making videos of the play to send to
With
him.
some clever music.
Yeah. Oh, there's another one too. I got to show you.
Okay, because the other one worked beautifully. Described the play perfectly. So the Raiders are still alive, but really not. Pittsburgh 7-8, Tennessee 7-8. They've been a mess. They've lost a bunch in a row here, and they don't have Tannehill anymore. Jets are 7-8, and they might be done with Zach Wilson. And New England's 7-8. Those are the teams on the outside looking in. The AFC playoff picture right now, Buffalo by the tiebreaker would be the 1 seed. The 2-7 matchup would be the Chiefs and Dolphins. 3-6 Bengals Chargers. That's a good matchup. And the 4-5 right now is Jacksonville and the Ravens. I feel like Jacksonville would be a great story if they made it. Partly because I'm not an Urban Meyer fan. And they're also only 7-8, but they've played a lot better lately. Trevor Lawrence seems to be figuring it out a little bit. And you just get Urban Meyer out. It's been addition by subtraction. And they've played better. They're not world beaters. They've had some good wins, but I mean, they're 7-8. I feel like they compete most weeks. Not a great team. I don't anticipate a long playoff run. Kind of the mystery team to me is Baltimore because they're 10-5. When Lamar is there, that team's pretty scary. He hasn't been there. They're just kind of scratching and clawing their way to 10-5 right now. I could see them being a potential dark horse, doing something like the Bengals did a year ago. But they've also had plenty of playoff failures, and I don't feel like they're the most complete team. But when you have a special player like that, he can really become a problem. It's just, will he be available for them? So to me right now, the AFC is more appealing. I think there's more teams that can get out of there. I think there's more high-level matchups. And I don't know how much it's going to change. Even if you put in, let me look at the teams that are on the outside right now. If you got, I don't know that New England would do much damage. Or I think if Tennessee was right, they could maybe do some damage. But I don't see the Raiders, Pittsburgh Jets. You probably have the best crew that's in there right now. So
if the Raiders somehow make the playoffs, something terrible has happened, correct?
Yeah, I think they need about 47 things to go right. It was a little bit like the Packers last week, and they need these 3 teams to lose and them to win, and all of that happened to at least give them a better chance. I mean, the Raiders obviously have to win both. I don't think they're going to beat the 49ers. And is their last game?
Yeah, they're not winning that game.
Is that the Chiefs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we're looking at the win total for the Raiders right now at 6-11. And then they've got a huge decision coming up in the offseason on Derek Carr. And again, Carr is a good, we'll go with good. He's a good quarterback. He's not great. He's good. I would say he's in the top portion of the league. The what?
Top quartile.
Top quartile of the percentile of the numbers that we're looking for. But that gap between him and the best quarterbacks is enough to push the Raiders down. They added way more in this offseason. Obviously, coach, GM, but Chandler Jones, Devontae Adams, a lot more pieces to the puzzle there to make them a better team. And I know they haven't had Waller and Renfro the entire year, but Jacobs has had a career year, and their offense is just okay. Defense is just okay. And Carr is, he's okay. He's fine. But you're in that spot. We say it every time. You either have your franchise quarterback or you're looking for him. The Raiders have felt like they've had their franchise quarterback. They've given it a run. They've tried it. It produced 2 playoff trips. No real significant long runs. I think they got to really reevaluate that. And then are you rebooting? Are you trying to upgrade there? There's not a lot of upgrades, or at least someone that's going to give you an upgrade. Where, for example, Denver thought they did in Russell Wilson, and he had an awful season. So that's a huge decision that the Raiders are going to have this offseason about the future of Derek Carr. All right, so we've talked a lot of football. We got to get into the Kings. Kings have had a 6-game homestand. They're halfway through it. I would say it's been disappointing so far at 1-2 with 2 bad losses, a good win against the Lakers, but 3 more to go and some concerns, right? With the injury to Domantas Sabonis. We will get into that. Let's talk about the Kings and some major concerns ahead. We'll do that as we start the next hour coming up.
The only place you'll find Keegan Murray is Sactown.
on the microphone. When he's not on the microphone, he's playing a song. And when he's not playing a song, he's on the microphone. And then boom.
With Jason Ross.
Jay, hey, my headset's
Text or call the show at 916-339-1140. It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sac Town Sports 1140.
And it is good to be back. Jason Ross here with you. Dave and Jay off this week. You heard Chris on the updates. We got a lot of show coming your way, including next hour, a couple of guests, and all guests coming to you from the Folsom Lake Honda Hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Our guest will be Matt Barrows 1 hour from now. Sean Salisbury at 8:15. And a lot of Kings discussion coming up. We did talk a lot of football in the first hour with the season winding down. But the Kings season, we're getting near the midway point. We're not early anymore. I know a lot of people are like, oh, there's a ton of season left, which there is. But tonight's game 32. So we're scooting along here. Kings have some schedule quirks that we're going to come up with here a little bit later, as the league has really done a lot of this schedule potting for some teams. And certainly the Kings seem to be one of the most involved teams in that. We'll explain that coming up around 7:30. But this homestand, there was so much optimism, as there should be, on this Kings team, the way they've played for the bulk of this season. I mean, right now, 17-14. It's a good record. Certainly better than they've been in the last couple of years. And I think when you've watched this team, I'll at least share my opinions on this team. It doesn't feel like the same old Kings. I don't feel like it feels like there's a lot more staying power. I think if you're looking at the strengths of the team, by far improved shooting. I mean, that's so crystal clear. The role of Domantas Sabonis and Fox, the way they fit and the way those two guys do the majority of the damage. But when you get the complementary pieces of Herter, Barnes, Murray, Monk, Davis, Lyles, whoever else might be, Mitchell playing well, then that is a very good Sacramento Kings team. They share the ball. I like their offense, how it's very much, the ball doesn't stick as much as it used to be. There's less isolation. There's a lot of movement, but a lot of that movement comes first by getting the ball to Domantas Sabonis. He almost forces you to move because Domantas isn't really creating a lot of stuff for himself. And once he starts to back a player down, he might be looking for his shot, but a lot of times he's looking for that double team to attack him and then looks for cutters or someone on a kick out that's open for a three, and he sets up so many people. It's a lot more read and react than just, hey, let's run this set. Let's run this play. And then Mike Brown, I like his role as this head coach. He hasn't been perfect, just like the team, but I think now he's got a much better gauge of his roster. He's very famous now for his quick timeouts to redirect a defensive breakdown. I think for the most part, he's done a good job on challenges. Sometimes he calls them a little early for me, but that's, his preference. He's the coach, obviously. So I think there's more things to like than to not like. A little concerned about the front court depth behind Sabonis, and now certainly with his injury that he's going to try to play through, that could become a huge factor. I know a lot of people are thinking Monty McNair should add a backup big. Well, they have backups. I think they need the right one. I don't know who that is, but someone that plays more like Sabonis. Now, there's not a lot of guys like that, but that's probably the target because I think if they do have to spend time without Sabonis and you're going to play Alex Len and Rashawn Holmes, you have to do your offense a little bit differently than they were with Sabonis. So with that said, if we look at this homestand going into it after, splitting that road trip, winning the last two against Toronto and Detroit, they were coming home with a homestand that looked like an opportunity to do a lot of damage. And I guess if they won out, 4-2 would still be a good homestand. You could still have done some damage, but you'll be kind of regretting the two losses. And to me, unfortunately, the two losses had very similar patterns. Playing Charlotte, who was on the second night of a back-to-back, a team that had not played very well this season, in fact, had the worst record. But we cautioned everybody, and I know this is something we even said on the pregame show, and I remember saying this to Henry Turner. I said, Henry, look, this is not a great team, but if this game is close late and on the floor for Charlotte, we're talking about players like Plumlee, P.J. Washington, Kelly Oubre, LaMelo Ball. I mean, that's 4 of the 5 right there. Like, that's a roster that could beat you, especially in a club. I mean, there's plenty of talented players that could do some, and Gordon Hayward. But that's a good 5 to close out a game. Not a perfect 5, but a good one. And the Kings got themselves down, got into a close game late, and then ultimately that group had all the answers. You come back, you kind of struggle for a little while with the Lakers, and then when LeBron wasn't on the floor, oof, man, Lakers are rough. And you just need to beat that team. I thought the Kings would, and they did. Won by 14, 15 points, something like that. Okay, so you got back on the right track. Now here come the Wizards. This is the game that's happened most recently since we were last here. And another team similar to Charlotte. In fact, I actually think the Wizards are better than Charlotte, especially when they're right, and they started getting guys back, but they were playing on the second night of a back-to-back. More things were favoring the Kings going into this game. And the Kings allowed kind of that bigger, athletic Wizards-type team to really dictate the terms of the game. Kyle Kuzma's slashing ability hurt them. Rui Hachimura played beautifully off the bench. Bradley Beal was good. Morris, Gafford, just go down the line. Porzingis really wasn't that great, but I thought the size and the athletic ability of the front court really started to bother the Kings. So 1-2 homestand. Not great. There's still 3 more to go, and I think these next 2 are the most difficult with Denver here tonight and tomorrow. Denver has the best record of the West. They're playing really good basketball. Kings haven't faced him yet. Jokić will be a problem with or without Sabonis, but you got to find a way to not only compete, but see if you can win a game or 2. I still feel the same way about the Kings, that I feel like they could beat anybody at Golden One Center. I feel like the fan base is so engaged in this team. Everybody wants to light the beam. I think the attendance has been great. I think the energy in the building has been great. They did get booed the other night, but the Kings were down 30 at home to Washington. Their largest deficit of the season was that game with everybody playing. Didn't seem to make sense to me. And the Kings did it, and it's not lack of effort on this team. I felt like they kept competing, they kept battling, and you were waiting for like this big breakthrough run, and it just, and what did they get it to, 16, 15 maybe, but never really felt like they had a chance to win. So I think we're seeing a couple of things here lately. The Kings have been down after the first quarter in a lot of games, not by a lot, but trailing and having to battle back. I don't feel like they've set the tone of some of these games recently, especially in this homestand. Felt like the Hornets were very beatable in just where their mindset was. Lakers and the Wizards. And the Lakers, they didn't put them away until third quarter, fourth quarter. So I think the Kings have just kind of been playing the games, not attacking the games here so far in the 3-game homestand. The other thing that's happened, yes, part of it is credit to the other team, but part of it is a knock against the Kings. After the Kings lost to the Charlotte Hornets, Steve Clifford, the coach of the Hornets, said, "This was our best game of the year." That's rotten luck. You play the Hornets for their best game of the year. Well, 2 sides to that. Certainly, the Hornets played well. Credit to them. But why was it their best game of the year? The Kings let it be their best game of the year. The Kings let some guys get loose and get comfortable. And even while their defense has been better, I feel like when they play an opposing team that has a defense that is not very good, like Charlotte, Wizards, it's okay. Lakers is not a very good defense. That the Kings kind of get into that mode like, well, we're such a good offense, we'll be able to win this game with just enough points. Where they've been at their best is when they've been good defensively combined with their offense. And if you look at the Wizards game, the Wizards games had a similarity to the Hornets. The Wizards had their best scoring quarter of any quarter this season, again, at the Kings' expense. And the Kings got hit with a double whammy against the Wizards where they didn't shoot the ball well and they didn't defend. If you don't shoot the ball well, you have to rely on your defense. And the Kings have been able to do that some this year. Not on Friday night, where they had the double whammy, didn't shoot the ball well collectively, and couldn't stop the Wizards. So a couple of days of practice and days off should be good for the Kings. They've got to be on their game with the Nuggets or they will get embarrassed. And then the other part of the question here and the other part of the scenario is how effective will Domantas Sabonis be with that injury? The avulsion fracture in the thumb. And the bummer about that for many reasons, one, literally the injury. 2, it happened pretty late in the Wizards game where you could argue, should he have been on the floor or not? Hey, it happened, could have happened in practice, could have happened in the first quarter, but it happened late in the game when there was about a minute later when Mike Brown took everybody out and basically waved the white flag. I understood what he was doing. He was trying to make one last push. And in that game, it also felt like the first game in a while that Mike Brown was searching. And I don't blame him. When you're down 30, you're just trying to find something. But it felt like when the run was happening, some of the bigger potential shots were taken by KZ Okpala, who's normally not one of your scorers. He had a corner three, had a layup that he missed. I don't know if they're winning those games, but if that's, I don't know, Malik Monk, Terrence Davis, Keegan Murray, maybe they make those and maybe that run starts. But the coach was searching. He was trying to find something. He was playing Queta. He was playing Holmes. He was just trying to find something different to get that team going. And for a team that had not lost to a team below 500 until the Hornets, now they've lost 2 in a row, or 2 of the last 3 against teams below 500. So to their credit, it took them basically 29 games to do that. But now they've had 2 losses out of their last 3 against teams below 500. So I don't know if it's ultimately a major red flag. I don't think they've played that well for the last week or so, but it can change as quickly as tonight, and we could feel differently about them if they continue to compete, continue to work on both sides there, offensively, defensively, and really lock in there. And they're going to have to be sharp and do their best to at least get one of these games against the Nuggets. We got more on the Kings, more on a preview of this game, and certainly more on the health of Domantas Sabonis. But when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about 3 questions, 3 answers, including what is next for the disappointing Broncos in 3 for Madness coming up.
Kings insiders Frankie Cardoselli and Chris Watkins give you It's 3 for Madness on the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Question 1.
All right, it is that time for 3 for Madness. I want to remind you the Capital Casino, conveniently located at 411 North 16th Street in downtown Sacramento. So we have 3 questions, 3 answers, and asking the questions today is Chris Verlot. Hello, Chris.
Hello, Jason.
How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing swell.
That's not question number 1.
I was going to say that counts as a question, but not question number 1.
Question number 1 is, what was the best thing that you did around the Christmas holiday?
Well, always spending time with family. I mean, it's wonderful. I love to spend time with family. But I would say of all the things that we did at different versions of family, and our Christmas ends up getting extended out. I've said this before, that kind of do stuff on Christmas. I mean, I got my brother's family, my mom, my step family here, my in-laws. We
about March 26th is when you.
It's about when we wrap things up, take down the tree, and finally give out all the presents. We did an escape room on one of those days off, 23rd, 24th, I don't know, somewhere in there. And those are fun. Have you done an escape room before?
I don't think I could do one.
Why?
I get claustrophobic.
Yeah, but it's not, well, I say it's not like that. It would just be like you're in this room and
yeah.
I mean, it's.
But like if you told me like I was in this room and then I couldn't get out.
Well, here's the deal. My brother-in-law was not on this particular one. We did one before where he was literally like freaking out about that. And they even rested, like you could just go out the door. We came in, like you're not locked in. Like you're trying to imagine coming in the studio door and then we're trying to ultimately get out of this room probably that way through different things. You just, okay, I'm freaking out.
But then even like my thinking is like something will happen at some point during that to where that gets locked and then we're like completely stuck. Yeah.
Are you good at, I don't know, cracking codes, breaking puzzles, figuring out puzzles or different things?
Depends.
Can you be?
Maybe.
Okay. Well, that's the premise. It was good. It was a good one out in Roseville. We had a good time. We were basically right at the end. We were like, I would say literally seconds away, and the time ran out. So we didn't quite.
4 seconds, MacGruber.
I know. And then we blew up and we all died. No, we were fine. It was a good escape room. It was a fun one, but you get stuck on certain puzzles to get you like to the next step. And some of the things took us too long, but that was one of the things that was, besides obviously being with family and some good food and good memories. How about you? Anything that stood out for you?
Yeah, just hung out with my cousins. Did a couple things. Christmas Eve, Christmas.
Yeah. Are the cousins all roughly your age?
So there's like a gap. So there's my cousins who are about my age, and then there's the younger cousins that are
like how much younger? Are we talking kids or just like 5 to 10 years younger? 15 years younger.
No, they're like 18, 17.
Okay.
20.
So the older group can do some different things than the younger group.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
They're all basically dorks that just want to hang out and play video games.
That's the older group?
That's the older group.
All right. Question 2.
Question 2.
Ryan in Sactown's asking, what was the theme of the escape room, J. Ross? It was a candy shop. We were trying to find the recipe, escape, and there was a third thing. Anyway, we didn't do it. We didn't quite make it. It was fun, though.
I'll take you to the candy shop.
There you go. What's question 2?
Question number 2. How much time have you spent on the college football bowl season?
I am embarrassed to say this, Chris. I am a big college football fan. I'll say that openly. So you would expect, he's watched all the bowl games. 0. I haven't watched one. Now, I think some of the best ones are coming up. But, and I also even more embarrassed to say this, as a UCLA fan, I went, oh no. Did they play? Did I miss? I know they were playing Pitt. And I go, Sun Bowl. Wait, no, that hasn't happened yet, has it? And I had to double check and look I'm like, no, it's later. It's later in the week. But I didn't know. And that's bad. I used to know all of them. And you reminded me before the show, and I may have to do this tomorrow, the bowl or not bowl, because the bowl names and the sponsors are pretty creative. You like that? You want me to bring that back?
Yeah. And I've made it a point to not watch any college bowl games, which I probably would have watched all of them, but I knew your game of bowl or not a bowl is so much fun. I made sure not to watch any of them.
I took so much pride in that. And I did pretty well with you and Damien when I did that years ago. I actually found that list. When I moved out of my office, it was in some paperwork. I went, oh, here's that. Well, I should probably just ask the same ones.
Yes,
see if
that would be great.
About 5
and I'll probably
later.
have different answers.
Yeah. So you haven't watched any?
No.
And I used to. Did you watch much college football this season anyway, or no?
No, not really.
Yeah, I used to watch. I wouldn't say all the bowls. I think there's too many, and it gets a little ridiculous. And I think it might get worse like this, Chris. I'm a fan of the college football playoff. I like how they're adding it to 12 teams. Ultimately, I think that's good, but I think the bowls will just become useless, unfortunately. And I think I have seen a couple highlights, and I go, man, nobody's at the Sarsaparilla Bowl, but I think it's a tough ticket now to go. Not a tough ticket to get, a tough sell to fans to go to these bowl games.
Not interested.
Yeah. Are you gonna watch the better ones though coming up, like the Rose Bowl, and then certainly the playoff games, the 4?
Maybe.
Okay.
I'd like to think so.
Maybe not. All right. What's question 3?
Question 3.
Jason.
Yes.
Question number 3. Who should the Denver Broncos look to for their next head coach?
Well, I think the one thing we look at with the Denver Broncos, where they've tried lately here, is kind of a new coach, a new idea. And that hasn't worked very well. If you look at the last couple of head coaches for the Denver Broncos, they had obviously Nathaniel Hackett, who they just fired. They had Joseph before that. They also had, the 49ers defensive coordinator. I'm blanking on his name. I'll get it here in a minute. But first time head coaches. And I think if you look at their most successful time, John Fox, Mike Shanahan, and a lot of times people are tired of retreads, but maybe they need to go back to the route of someone that's experienced, that's led a team before. It's not always the most exciting. We're seeing more of the younger hires, but Nathaniel Hackett certainly didn't work. He was just a colossal mess for them. Really, game management, the handling of Russell Wilson, it just hasn't felt right for what they've done there. So I know right now they're talking about Sean Payton, certainly as a candidate. I think Frank Reich makes some sense. Somebody that's had some experience there. Vic Fangio, thank you. That's the other one. But if you look at, they tried Josh McDaniels. That was the first time head coach for him. That didn't work. Their most successful guys they've had have been Dan Reeves, Wade Phillips probably, Mike Shanahan, and John Fox. And everyone else is just Vance Joseph, let's see, in his 2 seasons was 11-21. Vic Fangio was 19-30. Nathaniel Hackett 4-11. Man. And that's an organization that's been pretty proud and had some success. But I would go the experience route for them. I know that's maybe not going to be the most exciting hire, but when they've tried new, young, inexperienced head coaches the last 3 times, I think you kind of have to counter and try something different.
Experienced head coach, someone that can get something out of Russell Wilson. I mean, he's still under contract, but you can do something with that. You can trade for a coach.
What are you saying?
What if the Denver Broncos got Pete Carroll as their head coach?
Will it be an upgrade? It would be an upgrade. I don't know.
Do you think Pete Carroll ever wants to work with Russell Wilson?
Nah, I think he's done with that. I think it's Seattle until the end, right? Until they're done with him. But I don't know. I feel like Denver has always been a good organization, but the results here lately, again, I didn't realize it was been that bad. 11-21, 19-30, and then now 4-11 under Nathaniel Hackett. What a mess. And Sean Payton has been the one that keeps getting mentioned. He takes the year off. I don't know if that's the job he wants. I think he could wait around and see who else would potentially be interested in him. And for Sean Payton, he needs to know he's got a great quarterback, and he doesn't right now in Russell Wilson. And if it's not Russell Wilson, then who would it be? And that's what that organization is looking for. So there you go. That is 3 for Madness, 3 questions, 3 answers. All right. The best team in the West is here for 2 nights in a row at Golden One Center. The Kings and Nuggets. We preview that next.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
At Folsom Lake.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross. Text or call the show at 916-339-1140 on Sac Town Sports 1140.
So it's been a couple days off for the Sacramento Kings. They're back in action tonight. Want to tell you it's time to check out Coastside Medical Clinic, who's dedicated to providing breakthrough remedies for men. It's the Kings and the Denver Nuggets for the first time this year. And Denver obviously now has worked themselves into the best record in the Western Conference. They are 21-11. They obviously are led by Nikola Jokić, who's having just another brilliant season. Denver's won 4 in a row, 7 of 8. And they're going to come into this game with some pretty good momentum, as we said, winning 4 straight, 7 of 8. They start Gordon. I mean, this is a big front court, big team, really. Gordon, Michael Porter Jr., and Jokić up front. Jamal Murray and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. I think Bones Highland's a really good piece to the puzzle off the bench. I think the bench would be their weakest part, but the starters are just so good, so well-rounded, so experienced. They've played a ton of games together, and it's a tough matchup. This is a really good team that's coming in here for back-to-back nights. And at 21-11, you look at where Denver's gone wrong, I guess, if you say that, in the 11 losses. Here's some of the oddities they've had. They've lost to the Lakers twice. They've lost to Detroit. They lost to Dallas twice. So, I mean, and Dallas is a good team. They're okay. A good team, solid team. But so certainly you can get Denver, but how do you get Denver? How do you do it? And I think one of the key matchups certainly is one that would be worth watching, especially when both are healthy. And that's going to end up being the big question for tonight, is the health of Domantas Sabonis. But Sabonis versus Jokić. I know something Dave likes to say about Sabonis is that he's diet Jokić, but Sabonis right now is playing at just an unbelievable level. I mean, back-to-back triple-doubles. He's a double-double machine. He is as important, I think, to this team as the Joker is to Denver. Now, maybe not the same exact stat line, but they're similar. A lot of similarities. And I think when you've got guys that you run the offense through as such skilled passers who can also score, and then Sabonis gets every rebound known to man, seemingly, it just shows you the value of these guys, of a league that doesn't have a lot of great centers and a lot of great big men, but the ones that are there now are really pretty special, between Sabonis, Jokić, Embiid. I know there's more, but it's not, if you're not that kind of big man, then you're either a rim protector, a rim runner, rebounder, like a low volume, kind of a putback guy, which there's still a spot for that. But when you can be someone that's got so much skill and so much versatility like Sabonis and Jokić, that matchup will be dynamite, assuming that Sabonis gives it a go and it plays. Now, what's odd about this, and looking at the Kings' schedule, I don't know how this is going to play out for the season, but there was since COVID, one of the things the NBA has tried to do is do a little bit of schedule potting to limit, let's say, travel. For example, the Kings will go to Houston a couple times this year, or normally they do. And when they go to Houston later this year, they're going to play the Rockets. They just go on one trip, but play them twice in a 3-day stretch. Okay, you could do that once. Well, the Kings haven't had one of these little schedule potting situations until today and tomorrow. And I was looking that up. For example, a team like the Golden State Warriors, I looked them up. They don't have one of these. They don't have one. Now, why on earth would the Kings have this? Here's the rundown the Kings have of this schedule potting, where they're playing the same team in either back-to-back or a day off in between situation. So starting tonight, they have Denver tonight and tomorrow. They have Houston with a day off in January later at Golden One Center, so they have that scenario. At Minnesota with a day off in late January, where they play them twice in 3 days. At Houston again with a day off in between, and a 7-game homestand in February. So all 4 games of the Rockets are going to be potted like that. And generally, when you look at the past of the league that's done this, most teams split that. Well, Houston's a team right now with the worst record in the West, and I don't think playing them 4 times in this kind of potting situation, twice here, twice there, is advantageous to the Kings. Whereas if they went to Houston 2 different times, or Houston came here 2 completely different times, weeks apart, maybe those are isolated games, but I think the Kings have a better chance of winning all 4. So after that, when they do that with Houston, then they come right home to do with a 2-game potting with Dallas with no days off in between, as far as Dallas here, Dallas the next night here. late February at OKC with a day off in between, and late March at Portland with a day off in between. There's 6 of them for the Kings. And I don't think that's doing the Kings any kind of favor. Now, in the end, you still have to play all the games. Maybe you can make an argument, hey, they only have to go to Houston once and they're staying in the same hotel. They're there for 3 days. We'll see. We'll see ultimately how it goes, but I thought that was really one of the weird scheduling quirks that just the Sacramento Kings have as far as comparing them to a few of the other teams. Now, some of the other teams have it. I don't think anybody has as many as the Sacramento Kings do. And it starts tonight with Denver tonight and then Denver tomorrow. And generally, what these feel like is a playoff series, because no other time do you generally have a team that you play that recently again. And if you're the team that wins tonight, what are you changing for tomorrow? Right? You got to go back probably to the same game plan, maybe a few tweaks here and there. If you're the team that loses, that's the team that's going to make adjustments. And how differently is the second game, where let's just say tonight Denver shoots lights out and hits 23s. I'm telling you, the game tomorrow would probably go differently. Probably. That's generally the way the league works. So then you're planning for, okay, we got to stop the threes. Well, then they probably hit 11, and it's a completely different type of game. So we'll see how the first one goes tonight with this Denver team in the first matchup of the year. Denver is a team that, let me see what they're giving up defensively. 114 points per game, while the Kings are giving up 116. Kings score more than Denver. So I think they have some similarities there. Point differential is exactly the same. Just Denver has a better record right now at 21-11. Kings are 17-14. The other thing to watch is they've been very careful with a guy like Jamal Murray. Jamal Murray, is he going to play both games of these back-to-backs? Maybe he sits one of them. Maybe. I mean, that's just pure speculation. I think Sabonis, obviously, is the other thing to watch, because with this thumb injury, as of now, it sure sounds like he's going to try to give it a go. But if that's something that's, one, either bothers him, or do they rest him tomorrow? I don't know how the Kings are going to approach this. They've listed him as day-to-day. There's no surgery planned. And so you have to go into the assumption that he's going to give it a go and give it a run here against this Denver Nuggets team. But when you look at the matchups that I talked about, Gordon, he had just this unbelievable dunk the other night, but he's such a great athlete. Michael Porter Jr. is kind of a walking double-double, just a big shooter, slasher, rebounder. Jokić makes everybody on that team better. Murray was kind of the missing piece for the team last year when he had the ACL injury the season prior and missed all of last year. And then KCP, you guys know him as just a good veteran professional. So I think it's a really good roster. So now, what are the Kings going to need to counter that? Well, I think one of the things Sacramento has to do is have a high-level shooting night. Obviously, this team is better when they shoot the ball well, but they have a lot of games where they shoot 50% or better and get that assist total near 30. But that usually, to me, means they need to hit their three-pointers. And that's Murray, and that's Herter, and that's Monk as the primary guys. Fox, too. Barnes. I think Barnes has been incredibly solid. I think De'Aaron Fox, though he hasn't had that monster game lately, I think he's looking more of that get downhill, faster than anybody on the court, aggressive to the paint. Because there was a couple games there where De'Aaron was playing banged up, just wasn't even getting paint touches. And so I think he's looked better. But now they need the results of De'Aaron and the stats to back that up for him to be kind of that back to that dominant player that was playing like an all-star earlier in the season. So I think this matchup is really difficult. I think there's the other added wrinkle that I know just personally, I was always such a big fan of Michael Malone. I do root for him, like him a lot. I hope him and the Denver Nuggets have a great year. Certainly not the next 2 nights, but that's also another added storyline to tonight's matchup, the coaching angle between Coach Brown and Michael Malone. Again, likable guy. I've always liked Coach Malone. We've discussed that ad nauseum as far as the way that ended here should have never happened the way it did. But things happen for a reason, and for him, and it's been great for him to get to Denver, to get Jokić at the time he did, to watch that roster build and see they're a team that's further advanced, that now they're just adding the pieces to try to finalize what they think is a Western Conference contender. And getting a guy like Aaron Gordon is a better fit. And now you watch a team like them, what else might they need? And I think that's going to be something that's going to be fun to watch in the next, 6 weeks or so when the NBA trade deadline comes around, because you don't have a ton of separation in the Western Conference. I think most people believe, myself included, in the East, that the best teams are Boston and Milwaukee, though Brooklyn, I think the Kings kind of got them right after Brooklyn left here. They've played much better basketball. They're 10 games above 500 now and have their longest win streak ever since moving to Brooklyn. They've won 9 in a row. So they look the part. You got Cleveland's good, Philly. I think there's just a lot of teams to choose from there. Where in the West, there's a lot of teams to choose from, but who would you pick today as the best team in the Western Conference? Right now, it's Denver, record-wise, but it's fractions of a point better than New Orleans, who was the 1 seed before. I think New Orleans is really good. They've spent some time as the 1 seed. Phoenix was the 1 seed earlier. Clippers are right now 4. I think after about those 5 teams, now you're talking Kings, Mavericks, Blazers, Jazz, Warriors. I know the Warriors still show potential when everything is right. They had a good Christmas performance against Memphis, but they got to start figuring out how to win on the road. They're just 3-16 on the road and 13-2 at home. So again, 2 games below 500. Right now, they would be the 10th seed. And I know they would be that team that would say, hey, look, we won the championship last year. All we have to do is get in, and we'll figure it out. But the longer they play without Steph, the more losses they keep accruing, it's going to be tougher for them to kind of get to the spot that they want to really control their destiny. So tonight, to me, it's about another opportunity for the Kings to see where they measure up against some of the league's best. I think their schedule's been fairly difficult, but the unbalanced part, where if you look at the Western Conference, this is their first matchup with Denver. They still haven't faced New Orleans. They haven't seen Dallas yet. They haven't seen Utah yet, who will be here on Friday. They haven't seen Minnesota yet. They haven't seen Houston yet, and they haven't seen the Oklahoma City Thunder yet. That's pretty crazy, the amount of teams that they've really been locked in on, played a bunch of Eastern teams, and they've already played 2 games with the Lakers. They got their 3rd one coming up in about a week or so. They've met Memphis multiple times, Clippers multiple times. But some of these other teams they just haven't even faced once, and tonight's their first look at the Denver Nuggets. All right, so when we come back, though, what would it be like without Domantas Sabonis? And this decision that the Kings have to make on Sabonis, is it the right one to push him and to go forward? That looks like what it's going to look like. But we'll kind of go over some stats, some numbers to back up if they decide to play without Domantas Sabonis. We'll go over that very difficult decision when we come back.
Hey, Kings fans, you got questions? We got answers. Send all your Kings questions to Kingsman. Got a take?
Make sure it's a hot one.
Take a shot right now.
Call or text at 916-339-1140.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross on Sac Town Sports 1140.
All right, rolling right along on this Tuesday morning. Wet and nasty out there. Be safe on the roads. Whatever you might be doing this morning, we encourage that for sure. But that rain is definitely welcomed in. Jason Ross here. No Carmichael Dave or Jay Mars. They are off. Christopher Ladd here with me today. We go till 9 o'clock. Coming up in the next hour, coming up in about 15 minutes, we'll be joined by Matt Barrows, our first guest today, the athletic beat writer, covers the Niners. And Sean Salisbury joins us at about 8:15. All right, so tonight we've been talking a lot about the Kings and certainly Domantas Sabonis, the dreaded avulsion fracture of the ulnar collateral ligament in the right thumb, right hand. Certainly the non-strength hand, right? Sabonis does a lot of stuff with his left hand, but I mean, he just handles the basketball. He's multi-talented here, and what he's been doing has been absolutely absurd as of late. I mean, Domantas Sabonis is on such an incredible run, and it goes without saying. I mean, we say playing like he's an all-star. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind, but that's the other part about this, that you go, okay, what is behind the decision for the Sacramento Kings? I don't think anything here is being done selfishly, because obviously if Sabonis misses time, let's say he goes for surgery, which right now is not the plan. I think it would hurt every option to be an all-star, but that's not why you do this. It would hurt their win-loss percentage. That's why you do it, if you can play through it, which now you're asking a player to do something that we're in a time in a present day where people will sit because rest. I'm going to take today off. I think we're catering more to athletes. I'm not saying that's a wrong thing, but we're in a different time. That's very, very common for people to try to play as close to 100%. I think it's difficult for athletes to be 100% consistently through a year. Nagging things happen. This is more than a nagging injury, though. This would be having to play through something that I think will be very painful at times for Domantas Sabonis. Now, reading several different things about this injury yesterday, came across a couple different things. I think this one was really well done. Saw this one on Twitter. It's called In Street Clothes, and it's different people that write about injuries around the league, and this one is very, very good, talking about the avulsion fracture of the ulnar collateral ligament and basically trying to understand it. But here's part of this article. Time lost to these types of injuries is often linked to the severity of the ligament damage. Now, in this case, that was not released by the Kings. Now, they're saying it's better news than initially thought, so that is encouraging, but we'll give you some NBA comps. For example, Chris Paul and Bam Adebayo did have the same kind of injury, and they underwent surgery. Now, the average time lost for the UCL repair in the NBA is 25.1 games or 55 days. So let's call that 8 weeks. Now, as I said, Sabonis' sprain has not been made public. For now, it sounds like Sabonis will attempt to play through the pain. Other comparisons there, guard Avery Bradley had this injury back in 2015, and he did not miss a game. Now, Avery Bradley and Domantas Sabonis, two completely different types of players and efficiency-type players for their teams. The Kings medical staff will attempt to tape and brace the area when Sabonis takes the court, and it's likely he wears a brace in between games. Surgery still could be an option if the ligament damage was substantial, but for now it seems Sabonis will continue to suit up for Sacramento. Now, that's the word. That's what we're hearing. That's what we think it's going to happen. Let's hear Mike Brown, coach of the Kings, talk about an update from Sabonis.
I don't know crap about, medical stuff. It's one of those things that initially you think it could be a long time, and he's listed as questionable tomorrow based on what all the medical experts say. Well, we've been running the same stuff since, training camp started. So everybody is capable. Obviously, our other bigs aren't the type to bring it in transition and make a play for himself or for others. At least I don't think so yet. So that part will change. But in terms of what we do, it's all the same. And I said this before, we can hit those guys and we can play split action, or those guys could come right up in the ball screens. So at worst, you may see a little bit more ball screens if he doesn't play, but it's going to be basically the same type of stuff.
All right, so that's Mike Brown talking about Domantas Sabonis. Again, questionable for tonight. Can he handle playing this way? How impactful can he be? And we're talking about the impact of Domantas Sabonis. I do not think there is a more important player to this team. Stats back that up. His role backs that up. I think personally they're playing him a ton of minutes. I was looking at his minutes here. Last 5 games, 40 minutes, 40, almost 41 minutes, 40 minutes, 37 and 34 minutes. In his last 10 games, he has 3 triple-doubles, 2 in a row. In his last 5 games, he's had 1, 2, 3, 20 rebound games or more. He's incredible right now. I mean, he is absolutely, and he was asked the other day if he's playing the best basketball of his life, and he said yes. So you have a guy that's been a 2-time All-Star, the centerpiece of a trade to come here, and has been playing great, helpful in this team's resurgence, getting him above 500. Really, for lack of a better term and not a pun intended, but the centerpiece of what this team does. And the way the team started slowly, part of the issue was a little bit of Sabonis because he was in foul trouble, and I didn't feel like they figured out the proper way to protect him defensively. As the season has gone on, they have. He's played better defense. He's done a better job of defending without fouling. He stayed out of foul trouble, and he's been able to stay on the court. So you get Sabonis with more minutes on the court. He's going to be a good plus-minus guy. He's going to be an impact on the game, and he gives you a great chance to win. So then I started to do a deeper dive into the numbers, and if there is a time that they play without Sabonis, what does that look like? Well, he's played every game this year, so they're 17 and 14 with him. What would they be like without him? I feel like it would be very ugly. They would be different. They would be different. And when you're trying to change on the fly, you're going to ask more of De'Aaron Fox. I think he could do just fine there. You're going to ask more of some of your wing-type players. I think they could do just fine there. You're not going to get, let me just take the averages of the last 3 games, roughly, from Domantas Sabonis. I'm just going to do quick math. About 22 points. Let's see. We'll go about 15 rebounds and about 9 assists. You're not going to get that from Alex Len, Rashawn Holmes combined. You shouldn't. I don't think you will. But do you have to get that? How can you do it? How can you function if, in fact, they get to a spot where they say, we're going to be better off for his own health and safety and the long term of the team to shut him down? And that's always the most difficult decision. If an athlete wants to play and is not going to do further damage, I say play. But that is a really fine line. What is the right decision here? Again, these are all things that are easy for us to talk about. But let's say that was your decision. You would talk to Sabonis, you would talk to the athletic training staff, probably Monty McNair, the coaching staff, and decide what is the best course of action. This is our franchise piece, one of them, our most valuable player to this point, probably the player we can afford to lose the least. But if you decide the route of surgery, I mean, he's going to be gone. He would be gone for, like we said, an average of about 8 weeks. That takes you to the All-Star break, and still you could make a run after that, but where are you in the standings if you elect to do that? Now, can he play with it? What kind of level can he produce? What would it look like without him? I took the 10 lowest scoring games that Sabonis has had this year. Now, these weren't all the same games between his 10 lowest scoring, his 10 lowest rebounds, and his 10 lowest assist games, and I found it interesting, the numbers I came up with. So if I took the 10 lowest scoring games this year, he would average 11.8 points per game. And right now, his season average is 18. So it's well below that. But in his 10 lowest games, he averaged 11.8 points per game, 11.8. The team went 6-4. Okay, that's acceptable. His 10 lowest rebounding games. This was surprising. It's a 7.5 rebound per game average on his 10 lowest rebound games. He leads the league in rebounding right now at 12.4. So nearly 5 boards less. In those 10 lowest rebounding games, the team also went 6-4. His 10 lowest assist games gets him an average of about 4.6 assists per game. Right now, he's averaging 6.7. The team went 5-5. So, to me, I think you could live and function without his scoring. I think missing his rebounding would be critical because I think the team sometimes, and I understand why, is guilty of watching him get every rebound. But if you got a guy that's going to get 20, if anything that comes off the rim, well, he's likely going to get it. And sometimes those nights that he gets 20, Barnes has 2, Murray has 1, Fox has 2. I mean, no one else has more than 6 or 7. I think they're best when they're collectively rebounding, and Sabonis could still be in that 16 range, but you got a bunch of guys with 6 and 7. That's good. Assists are the same way. I mean, Sabonis, I have no problem with him getting 10, but a lot of times he's leading the team in assists. But you want that team to get close to 30 like they do on a lot of nights and have Monk off the bench with 7, Fox with 6, Murray and Barnes with a couple each, Herter with a couple. But this is a really, really difficult decision, I'm sure, for the coaching staff, for Sabonis himself, and for this organization. Because of what he means to this team, how he has played, what's on the line. I mean, individually, sure, you want to see him as an all-star. That's an individual accolade. That's cool for the team. That's cool for the city to be represented. But this team is trying to make the playoffs for the first time in 16 years. He means so much to this team. And as much as I don't want to see him miss a game, I honestly don't know what the right decision is here. I really don't. I would hate for him to go through surgery and be out for 8 weeks because I think the team would fall substantially. But could they recover in time? Is that what's best for Sabonis? Would you get the best version of him again right after that for the last, 6 to 8 weeks push? Or could you scrape and get by still with a very good version of Sabonis? I don't know how much better the hand will get over time. Gosh, that's really, really difficult to decide what to do. But as of now, it looks like he's going to play with his avulsion fracture and see how much he can play through it. So that looks to be the decision going forward. All right, our decision going forward is when we come back, we're going to check in with our weekly guest, Matt Barrows. What will keep the Niners from getting out of the NFC? They look like one of the teams to beat right now. Matt Barrows joins us next.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
Attorney, CPA,
Bosa, man, how good is he? The sack total is up there, the tackles number, the impact he has, the double teams, everything that opposing teams have to do to counter for what Nick Bosa is doing. Looks like he's going to be the defensive player of the year. When you have an impact player like that up front, it opens up everything else. And I know when he and Armstead are both clicking, they are a major, major problem for opposing teams. And then you get situations where the offense, right, where what I think is happening right now is a guy like Kyle Shanahan's in a groove. And I think you can get this way, that you can find the rhythm of your team, acknowledging your personnel, knowing what's out there, knowing what you have, knowing what you're playing against. And I think Kyle Shanahan's in a really good play calling groove. And you've got a guy like D'Amico Ryans, who is going to be coveted. He's already been mentioned to that Denver Broncos job. The Niners are just in a position where they've got things that other teams want, whether it's their coaching staff, their talent on their roster. That's a good position to be in, as opposed to some other teams that are just trying to find players that they can build up and to get to a spot where either one, they've got stars, or that other teams want them. And so the 49ers now are in that spot where they got to decide how they want to approach the last two games. They're in the playoffs. They know that. They, I think, should play for as much as possible to have as much home field as possible. The way the playoffs now are set with 7 teams that make it, the first team is the only one that gets a bye, and there's value in that. But if they could get to the 2 seed, which is leapfrogging over Minnesota, which Minnesota just plays with fire every week, that just gets you as much home field as possible. And certainly if the 1 seed, if that remains the Eagles, they slip up anywhere, then you have home field throughout. Then the NFC has to go through your place. And what the 49ers have done at home, their only loss at home this year was to the Chiefs, and that's their last loss. They had just acquired Christian McCaffrey. And remember, he played, but not really to the level that he's at now, and the rhythm and the system. And since then, they've run off wins to the Rams, Chargers, Cardinals, Saints, Dolphins, Bucks, Seahawks, and Commanders. So you got the Raiders left and the Cardinals left. And as we mentioned earlier in the show, the fact that Brock Purdy right now is playing at a level that everybody is comfortable with. You've got Deebo Samuel possibly returning this week, if not next week. Elijah Mitchell likely returning next week. This could be exactly the spot you want to be if you're the 49ers. Playing with confidence, playing well, getting your best players back, or having all your best players going. And the fact that while Deebo was out, you've gotten a little bit more from, like, Jawan Jennings on that, whatever that's called, that fly sweep that he ran this last week. It was something that Deebo has done, but he takes it to the house. Kittle the last couple weeks has looked like their best offensive player. McCaffrey is a home run threat every time he touches the ball. Mitchell will be a guy that they will utilize a lot and run. And Purdy is just handling all of this superbly. I mean, that was what really could have derailed this team, was the second quarterback injury. They made it through. I mean, they were, I think, still some really good fortune to this whole Jimmy Garoppolo offseason that appeared to be a mess when it looked like they wanted to deal him. Had the offseason surgery. I don't know if that's what scared opposing teams or the asking price was too high. But all of that led to the 49ers kind of having some dumb luck, to be honest, and keeping him on the roster. That was just the best plan. Jimmy thought it was the best plan. Hey, I'll just stay and I'll be the backup to Trey Lance. Well, Trey Lance gets hurt early enough where Jimmy G now is getting more reps. They do what usually happens with Jimmy G, is win games, and he's fine. And then, unfortunately, he gets hurt. And now that's the exact kind of thing that could have just dismantled this whole thing. The most important position in the sport is quarterback. And you not only had not your first, but also your second quarterback get injured. And a lot of people were a little bit surprised that the quarterback they kept in camp wasn't Nate Sudfeld, but it was Brock Purdy. And now Brock Purdy has the chance to lead a team that is Super Bowl caliber, but is that going to be the guy that's going to derail them? And it hasn't been the case. Brock Purdy has looked comfortable. He's handled everything that's been thrown at him, and he's looked more than comfortable at times. He's been good. His deep ball has been very good. Hasn't made that many mistakes, and has kept this things moving. And if you look at since he's been in, he came in that Dolphins game, they scored 33. Bucks, they scored 35. 21 against the Seahawks. That was on the road. And this last week, 37 more points against the Commanders. Defense is awesome. Special teams is sound and good. And all the pieces are coming together. So you got likely the defensive player of the year in Bosa. You have Brock Purdy playing at a really high level. You have Mitchell and Samuel coming back. And as I mentioned earlier, you still have that other wrinkle that would be just that, a wrinkle of Jimmy G making progress. Cast is off. He'll return to practice here, maybe a couple weeks, and could be back available if there's a late playoff run. But we talked in the last segment about difficult decisions with Domantas Sabonis and the Kings trying to play him through injury. To me, I don't think this is a very difficult decision. If Jimmy G comes back and is available and cleared, he's your backup. You play Brock Purdy. If you're that far along, if you've won 8 in a row now, and I'll even give the 49ers a loss here in one of the last 2, though. I don't think they'll lose, but let's just say they do. You're 9-1 with or in that stretch. You'll likely have won at least 1 or if not 2 playoff games before Jimmy G's even available. Why would you even make that switch? At that point, you're riding not even the hot guy. You're just going. This is who you are. This is the team you've become. Brock Purdy is your guy. And then you play Jimmy G if you absolutely need him, and that would be in a case of a Brock Purdy injury, which nobody would want to see anybody get injured. So I think they're in a good position. They now have full trust and faith, though we haven't seen like that clunker game from Brock Purdy. But even if that happens, I think he's now built up. He doesn't have this huge list of equity, but you know what the team's strength and foundation is. It's all of the pieces. The O-line, the defense, the skill players, and good quarterback play with good play calling. You can still win with this team. With, I don't want to say just any quarterback, but the Niners are kind of showing that, aren't they? And then you got an off season that you have to worry about and make decisions, but that's not for today. They don't have to worry about that now. The front office might be thinking about it. Contracts, salaries. Trey Lance still seems to be the guy of the future. Brock Purdy would have every opportunity to battle for that job, I believe. And then you just move on from Jimmy G. Thank him. We appreciate you. We're still going to wish you the best, but you're probably best off on another team and get paid somewhere else. And we thank you for what you've done. You've built up your resume, your win-loss percentage here. You've shown to be tough. You've played through some things. You've been a great leader. Your locker room likes you. I don't think anybody will have anything bad to say about you. People won't be mad. They'll be happy that you're getting another opportunity and likely to get paid. That's the way it would look like. It's like, hey, that's a guy we like. We would welcome him back in a different situation, but just not the situation we're in now. And if you elect to somehow bring him back, then you're probably moving on from Purdy or Trey Lance. And Trey Lance, you've invested a ton of future draft capital and current draft capital for him. I'm not saying you can't move on from Trey Lance, but I still think there's some things that they see that we just haven't been able to fully grasp of him being healthy, of what he could mean to this offense. So I don't think they're done with him. I certainly don't think they're done with Brock Purdy. And Jimmy G could still serve a role in the short term, assuming there's another injury. Let's hope there's not. So obviously it looks like we're not going to connect with Matt Barrows today, but we will see if we can get him another time this week. If not, he'll be back with us next week for sure. But if you think about the grand scheme of things, where the 49ers are, I think they're in a fabulous position. I think the decision they have on whether to rest guys for the last 2 games, I wouldn't do it. You want to keep people healthy, but you're trying to get as many wins as you can. Stay hot. Keep the momentum going. Give yourself the best possible playoff roadmap. And I think if you look at the Vikings schedule, because you need them to lose a game to leapfrog them. And I know the Vikings play Green Bay, and who was their last game? The Bears. Both on the road. You're really hoping it happens this week. That if the Packers can get them, which they need to get another win here to help their playoff chances. Minnesota, like I said, plays with fire every single week, always in close games. Or when they're not, they get blown out. If you think about it, I know the Cowboys got them, but 40-3 in the Eagles early on, 24-7, and the Lions beat them by 11, 34-23. Those are their 3 losses. Their wins, let's see here. After week 1's win, by 4, by 3, by 7, by 8, by 8, by 3, by 3. Another one by a touchdown. There's one by 5, by 3, and by 3. Everything is close. So the Vikings have been playing with fire. There's every opportunity coming up that someone could get them here between the Packers and the Bears. And if the Niners went out, put them in that 2 seed, even potentially still a 1. If everything went right, I don't think that's going to happen. But give yourself the best opportunity to do the most kind of damage you can in the postseason. All right, we will break. When we come back, Sean Salisbury will join us. We'll get his very latest. Our resident QB will join us. What's going on with Tua, with Zach Wilson, even Derek Carr's future, and more quarterback talk with Sean Salisbury. That is next.
Live and local. It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
It's hard to find.
Talking to our resident QB, Sean Salisbury, joining us as all guests come to you from the Folsom Lake Honda hotline. Folsom Lake Honda, your one-stop Honda shop. Jason Ross here. Carmichael Dave is off today. Hope everybody had a good holiday and the rest of the week coming up. And we look forward to checking in with Sean right now. Sean, how are you?
I'm doing well. Happy to see you, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Happy holidays. Hopefully everything went well with you there. And we're getting down to the end here, Sean. And I'd love to talk quarterbacks with you. I'm going to start with Tua. Obviously, he's having a good season, an accurate passer. Now he's back in this concussion protocol. Man, I mean, Tua has had a very challenging year, good at times. What do you do if you're the Dolphins as far as his health and safety going forward?
Well, the thing that NFL is obviously trying to do is take decisions out of the player's hand, because most players would, they'll try to fool you. In the old days, without concussion, the new school concussion protocol, if he's okay, because they want to be on the field playing. And now, by making these decisions, taking them out of his hands is one thing. He's in the protocol. It comes simply down to this: in this position, you as a coach you check with your medical staff. For instance, if he goes through the protocol, and if he practices during the week and passes protocol, and you see fit to play him, and he's 100%, and if he passes the doctor's tests, and the independent doctor's tests and your doctor's tests, and he's fit to play, and he wants to play, then you've got your whole team to think about an obligation to decide, okay, is it what's best for the team? Does he give us the best chance to win? Because if he doesn't pass protocol, then it's obvious the decision's made for you, which sometimes is a good thing because you don't want to put a guy in harm's way. But it's a violent football game. But if all of a sudden, if I'm the coach or the general manager or the owner, and the doctors come to me and say, he's passed protocol, he's healthy enough to go, and he wants to go, he passed it, don't you have an obligation to play him?
Yeah.
And I know some people on the other side will say, no, you have an obligation not to play him. Then don't put him in play, and then don't pass him in the protocol. If it's close, err on the side of caution. I don't know. As not a doctor, I don't know what the determining factor is that says, okay, he's pronounced fit and ready to go. But as a coach, if my starting quarterback, who up until about a month ago was playing at an MVP level and has shown, as you saw the first half, played really good football and turned the ball over in the second half and post-concussion, at least it appears, that if he's pronounced fit, and as a coach, your responsibility is to your team, does he give you the best chance to win? If he's fit and ready to go. Now, you may also, as an organization, say, listen, even though they passed him in protocol, I don't like the way he's responded in meetings, meaning, things just don't seem right with him. Then you don't play him. But you have to take all of that into consideration. And if he is then and you play him, then you're not doing the wrong thing because that's a doctor's decision.
Yeah. Sean, I'm curious in your career, whether it was at USC or in the NFL, how many times, and we've adapted and changed for the better here, but how many times do you think you played when you probably wouldn't have been cleared back then?
No, a couple, 2 or 3 probably. When you apply college and pro, probably more, because in high school, we were back in those days where you hold your fingers and, put a little smelling salts. But the one that stands out the most I can remember is we were playing Tampa and I got hit, and my head hit the turf after I got hit. And Rich Gannon was already out. I think it was his broken thumb. And I didn't want to come out of the game. It was an opportunity for me to play. And I could not get the wig-wag signals from the sidelines and cognitively get it out of my mouth in the huddle, but I could execute a play. So Steve Jordan, our tight end, he was from Brown. He always wanted to know the hand signals anyway, because he wanted to know the play before the quarterback said it in the huddle. So he would always look. And so in truth, in the second half of that game, I went over to pro on sidelines. They put smelling salts and asked me questions, and I got through them. But I could not get it. I just couldn't process, the hand signals to getting it out of my mouth to telling the players in the huddle. But once we broke the huddle, I could give the cadence and go execute a play. We ended up winning the game, and I remember playing in the game, but I can't tell you what happened in the second half until the next day of tape. So That one was the one that stuck out the most. But there were plenty of times you get hit and you're dinged for a minute and you go in that maybe they wouldn't pass you. But for the most part, I would think that, and I don't know how stringent it is, maybe a couple times, but I know there's plenty of guys who many a time back in the day, probably today, they would have missed game after game. Those fullbacks who have to take on a Mike linebacker helmet to helmet. Oh, hell no. So, yeah, that game stands out in particular. Hell, I can remember a game that wasn't even a head injury. I got hit by Ron Rivera, but I literally thought that he'd knocked the breath out of me so bad I thought I was dying on the field. And I'm not kidding you. I couldn't catch my breath, which felt like 15 minutes, but it was probably, 30 seconds or whatever, but it felt like an eternity. But head injuries, that one stuck out the most.
Sean, how long, we're at present day where we want everything now. We want results today. We want them immediately. But I'm thinking of a guy like Zach Wilson, who's taken high, number 2 by the Jets. And this weekend looks like he's going to be inactive. They're going to go with White at QB. They got others in front of him. And his days may already be done in New York, which is amazing. But how long is the right amount of time to give a QB to know whether or not he's going to work?
Well, I don't think I think everybody's different. I do think when it comes to coaches and when it comes to quarterbacks or play, now we'd never do that to a defensive tackle, at least for the most part. We don't do it to an outside linebacker. We allow those guys to play through 2 years. Oh, man, his third year, he's a player. Hey, you would think that it would require a little more time. They would give him a chance for growth. And coaches, too, we fire or expect too much from those type players and coaches. The Hackett or first-year guys, I mean, if we did that to every coach and quarterback, imagine, well, Josh Allen wouldn't be an MVP because in Buffalo after his rookie year, we said, he's okay. Well, look at him now. So we're way too quick on the trigger for this. But the other side is you also know that sometimes a coach loses a team and you're not going to maximize the building 2 years down the road, maybe a second time somewhere else in Nathaniel Hackett's case. But we also got to take into consideration veterans too. Russ Wilson Russ Wilson's a big reason why Nathaniel Hackett's not. And a lot of it was self-inflicted. Teams out of hand, they're not good. But Russ Wilson has been the worst offensive player on their team. The guy has not been good. So he helped, but we're still too quick at the trigger. But you got to decide if it's not just now, but what's going to affect your team in the future. With Zach Wilson, listen, we're 2 years in. He's been bogged down by some injury. Am I ready to quit on Zach Wilson as an NFL player? The answer is no. But my biggest issue with him is not that he struggled in press conferences, it's tough in New York, is that he doesn't make the common play. He's got such a great arm and athletic ability, can throw it, but in shorts and a T-shirt, fine. We don't play in shorts and a T-shirt on Sundays. It's the simple play to the flat. It's a check down. He doesn't make the simple play look easy. He makes it look uncommon, and whether that's gripping it too hard, expectations. So, yes, we have too high of expectations too soon. We think everybody's Mahomes and everybody's supposed to be Sean McVay and have instant success, which they don't. But there are some situations where you say, he's just not cut out for us. And the backups have played better. Zach Wilson may rejuvenate his career somewhere else. I wouldn't play him either right now. He's not good enough to play because he can't make me in a playoff race a simple play. And Nathaniel Hackett looked like he was in over his head, which doesn't mean 3 years down the road he won't be better somewhere else. But we're way too quick at it. But I get both situations and why you would cut bait. And if you're the Jets, that's admitting a lot. If you're willing to walk away after 2 years on the second pick of the draft, that tells you, it's not just in the games, that tells you that there's a lot missing and that somebody else is going to try to take that on. I get why they play Mike White. Mike White's better than Zach is right now.
Kind of with that said, then let's stay in the quarterback realm, and someone who's been given plenty of opportunity, had more weapons added this year, is a good quarterback and has been kind of their franchise guy, but Derek Carr and the Raiders, I just, they got a big decision to make on him in the offseason on what kind of guaranteed money they want for next year and the year after. If you're the Raiders, there are better quarterbacks, not a ton, but there are better than him. What do you do if you're the silver and black with Derek Carr?
To me, it's two questions. And as a diehard Raider fan, I'm asking two questions. One is, have we seen the ceiling on Derek Carr? Can he get through a ceiling? Because our goal is not to get to the playoffs. Our goal is to get to the Super Bowl. And if we've seen his best, that answer is no, then you've got to consider moving on.
Do you think we've seen his best?
Do I think we've seen I think we've seen flashes of it. And that was my next point, is it's the inconsistencies. The last drive of last week, he brings them down the field, they score, you're like, that's the guy who's been an MVP candidate. And then you'll go through series and you're saying, oh my gosh, great quarterbacks can't continually make those decisions. And is he a Josh McDaniels guy? If Josh was doing this and was going out and searching, would Derek Carr be his guy if Josh is going to be the coach? You have to ask that. But it's the inconsistencies of sustaining success that bother you. I've seen flashes to tell me that Derek Carr has flashed as a franchise quarterback, but if we've consistently seen his best, the answer is, can you get to a Super Bowl with him? The answer right now is no, yet there's times I watch him and say, the guy's the starter. So here's what I say. I don't think he's a program changer or a franchise changer. I think he's a solid starting quarterback in the league. Now you have to ask yourself, is the replacement better? Are we better with the replacement? If we're going to get rid, it's like the Pro Bowl or the All-Star game. Okay, he got snubbed. Okay, so if I'm taking one, like the quarterbacks in the AFC,
right?
Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen. Well, I can't believe that somebody else did. This guy didn't make it. Well, the question you ask yourself is, well, who am I taking out? It's the same thing with now. If I'm getting rid of Derek Carr, who am I replacing him with? Am I going to replace a top 15 or 18 quarterback in the league, top 15, with the 19th best? But he may be the 19th best now, but 3 years from now, will he give us a better chance to win? You have to ask yourself that. I think the Raiders are going to, the overall answer for me is, I think they're going to do a hardcore evaluation on, does Derek Carr give us the best chance to win the Super Bowl, or does our next option, finding a way to get a different guy, trading for Jimmy Garoppolo, does he do it? Or popping in the draft, trying to give up weapons and say, let's build with a young guy, a C.J. Stroud, or whoever it might be that you think you can go get and go from there. Derek Carr's not a hack. Derek Carr's a good football player. The question is Derek Carr a Super Bowl? Does he maximize the room? And are we best with him? And are we a Super Bowl team with him? If you are, then you stick with it. I think they're going to evaluate the position strongly because those guys are hard to come by.
Yep.
But if you're going to replace him, you damn well better know what you're replacing him with.
No doubt. Sean, we always appreciate your insight. Thank you so much. Happy holidays to you, and we'll talk to you next week.
Appreciate it, brother. Thank you. You too.
All right. Thank you. That's the great Sean Salisbury joining us there. All right. When we come back, there's some breaking news here. An NFL legend. We'll call it quits after this season. We'll tell you who that is. And we got some 3 in the key for Kings and Nuggets tonight. We'll tell you about that when we come back.
The Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
Hands up, no fouls, no more, no fouls. Okay, take a break.
It's the Carmichael Dave Show with Jason Ross.
The only local sports show in the morning.
On Sac Town Sports 1140.
Well, as you heard Chris mention there in the update, J.J. Watt making the announcement that he is going to call it quits after the final 2 games of this regular season. He will end his career. And what a career for J.J. Watt. There was that stretch where he had a couple of years in Houston where he was getting Defensive Player of the Year. He was scoring touchdowns offensively and defensively. Really a great run. 5-time Pro Bowler, 3-time Defensive Player of the Year. And yeah, he's had just some amazing, really his best years were about 2013 through 16 with Houston, somewhere in there. Had a good year again in 18, and then last couple of years in Arizona. But Chris, he's been one of the greats for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy. They're talking about the amount of sacks. Like I can't remember what the actual stat was, but it was 3 players that had the amount of sacks before a certain age. Number 1 was Reggie White. 2 was J.J. Watt. And then 3rd was the other Watt brother.
Oh, really? Trying to see where he is all time. I think he's 118. So he's just outside the top 20 of all time. But a great career. Absolutely a great career. And J.J. Watt, I mean, that's
injuries cost him at the end.
Yeah, he would have racked up a few more. Had a couple of those seasons where he just completely missed or got knocked out during the season or missed fractions of seasons. But legendary work ethic and great career. What do you mean?
There's always just something that rubs
a lot of people about him, right? Because a lot of his stuff has been done on camera.
Yeah.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Well, I'd rather you be a alleged good guy and doing it on camera than everything about, like, I don't hear people saying he's a bad guy.
Yes.
Off
and
camera.
I don't think he's a bad guy.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad guy too. I think he definitely wants some of that stuff to be known, and that's okay. Because usually it's good things he's doing, but good for him. And yeah, the irony of that is this.
And then there's that whole cabin thing.
What's that one?
Remember, he was like working. He's like, "Oh, I'm working out in a cabin for the off season."
Yeah.
And you thought it was gonna be like Rocky, like
right.
just somewhere in the mountains with like nothing, and then it turned out it was like this multi-million-dollar
resort cabin. Like, yeah, technically a cabin, but yeah, it didn't look like you're roughing it in this 8-bedroom, whatever thing. Yeah. But anyway, he has announced his retirement, so good for J.J. Watt, and he'll have 2 games left, including his final one against the San Francisco 49ers. All right, again, our thanks to Sean Salisbury. Any portion of the show that you missed, certainly if we appreciate all of you checking us out on YouTube, you can go back when the show is podcasted and check out any of our interviews and conversations and topics that we had, whether it was talking about Domantas Sabonis or with Sean Salisbury or anything else you ever missed. Certainly go back and check it out on Sactown Sports. Last night in the NBA, the Bulls continue to be a mystery team to me. They lost again. They just don't like each other, and they lose by 15 at home to the Rockets. The Nets stayed hot. They have won 9 consecutive games. They're 10 games above 500, and certainly the Kings got them at the right time. They'll still play them one more time. Clippers had an amazing comeback in Detroit. Miami defeated the Timberwolves. You had the Blazers beating the Hornets. They're still on this long West Coast trip of the Hornets. Pelicans beat the Pacers, and the Spurs beat the Jazz. I want to do a standings check. We always like to do this every once in a while and kind of update everybody what's going on, specifically in the West. Sacramento Kings, even with this homestand that's just been 1-2, they are 17-14. The Kings right now in the playoffs at the number 6 spot. You want to be in the top 6 to avoid the play-in opportunity, but they have just a half-game lead on number 7, Dallas, and number 8, Portland. They're basically in a tie. Same with Utah, who the Kings will face on Friday. They're 9th, and the Warriors are below 500 at 16-18, but they currently are the 10th team. The team that are out will be the T-Wolves on percentage points, OKC, the Lakers, the Spurs, and the Rockets. I think the Lakers, Thunder, Spurs, and Rockets will be the teams that will stay out. I don't know who that 11th team will be, and obviously if the Kings were to miss any time with Sabonis, there could be a predicted slide coming there, but we'll see what happens. As long as he's playing, I feel better about that. Nuggets are 1, Pelicans right behind them, Memphis 3, Clippers 4, Phoenix 5, and as we mentioned, the Kings 6. Kings are just a half game out of 5th and just a half game out of 7th. That's how fragile it is right now for Sacramento. In the East, you got Boston, number 1, followed by Milwaukee and Brooklyn, as we mentioned, hot winners of 9 in a row. Cleveland 4, Philly 5. The Knicks are 6th. And then it goes Atlanta, Indiana, Miami, Toronto as the 7 through 10. Indiana's been fun. I've been watching them a lot too, following kind of what Tyrese has done. They've had some really good wins. They've had some puzzling losses too, but that's what you are when you are a 500 team. All right, so Chris, it is that time for a little 3 in the key. Have you done 3 in the key before?
Yeah, I used to get called for it all the time.
Yeah, because you're too many pump fakes. Chris would lead the league in pump fakes.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Mr. Triple Threat would play in our – I think Chris has by far the longest opportunity to shoot in a game that I've ever seen. The story was, I think I hurt my ankle in this game, and I was sitting on the sideline having my foot up on the bench. Chris was in. Chris caught a ball over at the three-point line right in front of me, and I was just kind of sitting there. I was like literally like closer than the defender was to you. The defender was in the paint and was like, I don't really want to close out because I don't think this guy's going to shoot. And then Chris was in the triple threat. So then the guy's like, well, I better close out because he's still standing out there. And I'm like, Chris, shoot. And Chris looked.
You thought I was going to shoot.
I did, because then the defender was like, he's not going to shoot. Well, I'm going to come. But the defender didn't race out there.
No, he didn't.
He just kind of like, well.
Which I was hoping for.
I've got to do this. I'm getting closer. Wait, he's not doing anything, but I'm getting closer. And then you ultimately didn't shoot.
I passed.
Yeah. But it's like, he's going to shoot it. He's not going to shoot it. Well, he's not going to shoot. Well, now he's definitely going to shoot. He's going to. Oh, he passed. So
great triple threat.
It was a triple threat. You had the ability to shoot. You chose not to. You could have dribbled. You chose not to, but you did pass. Anyway, so you probably did get called for 3 in the key a lot, didn't you?
No. Nobody calls that.
They don't call that anymore. So we've got 3 questions that we're going to make predictions on for tonight's game. This one, the first one I'm going to bring up, is a difficult one because of Sabonis. We just don't know what he's going to be available for, what he's going to do tonight. So you could even give him zeros if you want here. But I'm going to do the center comparison. So we want a stat line of points, rebounds, assists from the Joker and Sabonis. I will start this one out for the Joker, for Nikola Jokić, the Joker. 26 points, 11 rebounds, 11 assists. Jokić, I should say. 14 points, 11 rebounds, 7 assists for Sabonis. So I go 26, 11, and 11, and 14, 11, and 7. Chris, what say you for the Joker and for Sabonis?
I'm going to say for Jokić, 32.
32.
13.
13.
And 8.
Okay. I gave him the triple-double. You give him more points, a little more rebounds, less assists. All right, Sabonis.
I'm going to give Sabonis 12.
Okay. Does he get his 3rd straight triple-double?
9.
9 rebounds?
And 7.
Okay.
I don't think he's going to be playing that much.
Okay. I can understand that. I think we had one a while back where we did De'Aaron Fox's stat line, and Dave and Jay both chose 0 because we weren't sure if he's going to play. He ended up playing, got some numbers, obviously. All right, next up, you lead first here. 3-pointers made by the Sacramento Kings. The total number of threes they make tonight.
The Kings will make, I'm going to say 12.
Okay. I have 14 for the Kings. And the last one, I don't know why I put this one in, but I feel like it's going to happen tonight, so I'm putting it in there. Technical fouls in the game. I have 3.
3?
Yeah.
I'm going to say $1.
One? Just 1 technical foul. So there you go. There's our 3 in the key. We'll monitor that tonight for this game. And yeah, I'm really just want to see about Sabonis. I mean, again, I brought it up earlier, the avulsion fracture of the ulnar collateral ligament. When players have had surgery, the average timeout is about 8 weeks. Some players have played with it, not missed any time. Sabonis at the moment looks like he's questionable. We'll give it a go. Alex Len was with the first team offense yesterday. And Len makes sense to play more tonight, specifically with Jokić, just because the big body, you got fouls to give. I remember there was a game, Chris, here at Golden One. I think he still has the record. I think Joker went for 50 here a couple years ago.
What's bad is Sabonis does a pretty good job of defending him because I mean he's such a good passer that when you double team him, he's going to find the open man.
Yeah,
and then when you try to guard him 1-on-1, he's just going to go by you and just embarrass you.
I don't know what the record indicates. Sometimes people say, "Well, let the guy go off and get 50, and just low assist total." But Jokić can still get both. You know, get 50 and have 11 assists. Like he just totally impacted and dominated the game. So we'll see what the defensive scheme is tonight. We'll see how effective Sabonis will be as we got Kings and the Nuggets. All right, we've got the final segment coming up. We got news, we got notes, celebrity birthdays, and more coming up to wrap up the Tuesday show. That is straight ahead.
You want the inside scoop on the Sacramento Kings?
Cattles and Rami are giving it to you.
Yeah, hot, real hot. And what's not.
It's not good.
Brought to you by American Energy Air and Solar, Sacramento's complete heating and cooling company and second opinion partner.
All right, it is time for Who's Hot, Who's Not. Chris, what do you have for us?
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Last night in Portland, LaMelo Ball had a game.
Had a
27.
ball.
He had a ball. 27 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. But that's not Who's Hot.
Oh, yeah?
Who's Hot is play-by-play of the Hornets announcer, Eric Collins.
Long one. Woo! All right. From Beaverton, LaMelo got it from 40.
Everybody likes to put city locations in their call, don't they?
Yeah.
But did you like that? Woo!
That was the best part.
Want me to play it?
I don't know why it's not playing here.
I could find it, I think.
Oh, I think I got it.
Not that bad.
All right.
He loved it. So he's hot, the announcer. He is very excited. He's very excitable. Eric Collins for the Charlotte Hornets. He's
all right.
All right. Do we have a Who's Not?
Who's not?
Yeah.
Domantas Sabonis' hand.
Yeah, that stinks. That was just, it was such a, everybody wanted the beam to be lit on Friday. Everybody's excited. They're down 30, and then it's like they're maybe a little mini comeback. You realize they're going to lose. And then when you see him shaking his hand, and he's doing it multiple times, and he walks to the bench and just went right to the locker room, like, oh, no, this is not good.
And you really didn't even see him, like, hurt it or anything like that?
No. Like, oh, brother. So hopefully, again, game time decision tonight, questionable, we should say. And it looks like as of now, he's going to try to play through some pain.
But if I see Sabonis coming out of the locker room and he's ready to play,
that's what you're going to do. That's what you're going to do. All right, it's time for news and notes.
On this frequency.
It's time for the news of the day.
Thank you for ruining the show and dropping a steamer on my journalistic integrity.
Today's important headlines, intelligent analysis, hard-hitting interviews.
Yeah, this is none of those things.
Here's Carmichael Dave and Jason Ross.
Oh my God, I love those guys.
As we mentioned, Carmichael Dave is off. Jay Mars is off. Put Simone in there, too. She's going to get some celebrity birthdays coming up here in a moment. It is, what is the national day today? We only have one on the list, and it's National Fruitcake Day. Boo.
I've never had a fruitcake.
I probably have. I don't know the last time. Long time. I don't know that. I mean, it used to be that was like the joke. People would bring a like, when's the last time you've even seen one?
I've never seen one.
You've never even seen one
No.
in real life? It's like Bigfoot. Just never seen it. Yeah, I don't know. Just don't give a fruitcake. Don't give that as a gift. So it's National Fruitcake Day. We can pass on that. Let's give you some news and notes here. Let's see. There was a driver in Arizona last week.
I'm guessing there were several.
Yes, but this one was pulled over in the carpool lane. That probably happened before too as well. In the passenger seat, though, was an inflatable Grinch. So the cop pulled them over because that was not technically a two-person, though very creative to think you can get away with an inflatable Grinch in your car, in your passenger side. They still got the ticket.
Have you done that before?
An inflatable in the no.
Oh.
No.
So
Do you have you?
So you know how in like San Francisco it's 3 for the carpool
Yes.
lane? So I forgot about that, and my friend and I were driving, and there's 2 of us. But then like we had like a sweatshirt and a hat, so we kind of leaned it to the side so it looked like someone was sleeping. Like we had the arm up.
Were you looking back like you're talking to them?
No, we didn't go that far.
Okay.
But we kind of had like, like someone might think it's someone sleeping in the back.
A
crime, Chris.
A crime has been made. No tickets were handed. I always wondered, especially when my son was really small and we had like the car seat and they were tiny. I'm like, well, he's 2, he counts. But you wonder like, there's someone back there. I'm legit.
Look at this lane pig.
Exactly. How about this? Police were called to a neighborhood in Kentucky when a resident confused as part of a neighbor's Christmas vacation tribute. You know, they had a inspired display in their yard of Cousin Eddie, but they thought it was someone that was an unwelcome visitor. So they called come on, know your neighbors, know who's there. They just see this Cousin Eddie, not even a cutout. It actually looks real.
Know your movie.
And know your movie. Cousin Eddie, come on. All right, we need some etiquette rules here. I don't think we had this at the station. If we did, I wasn't invited. But have you ever been to a white elephant gift exchange kind of situation?
I had one yesterday.
You were at one yesterday?
Really?
Okay, remind me of the rules. So if you're like, you don't want to be first, right? Because you get the first pick and then someone can steal your gift.
You get jacked, yeah.
Yeah. But are you supposed to tell everybody what you got or?
No, you're supposed to open it.
Yeah, you
and
open
display it.
You open it so that's what everyone else sees what you have.
And then it just gets swiped.
If it's good.
So is it like, okay, let's say Chris had the first pick and Simone, you liked it. You take that gift.
Yep.
What does Chris then get?
He gets to open another one from the pot.
Another one.
Mhm.
So much
or
like
I could steal someone else's gift.
Okay. So what would be the rule here? So a lady lost. She had the first pick and she wanted it. It was a $25 gift card to TJ Maxx.
Okay, so like
All
here
right.
I was going to be on like the side of just like, man, if someone's super into the gift,
you leave it.
Yeah, but
Let
a
them have it, but it's a gift card?
gift
No.
card to TJ Maxx.
Well, she
I
wanted
think
it.
that's replaceable.
Okay, well, it worked out for her.
Oh, let's hear
Okay.
her story. Let me hear her story.
Yeah. So she ended up with $25 in lottery tickets.
Oh, I did hear this.
She won $175,000.
Oh.
Okay, so not the etiquette. That part's fine. I mean, I think that's her gift. She got it. Someone took it from her. She ends up with the lottery tickets. Are you supposed to share any of that with the party?
I'd break them off.
I'd probably.
What's the number?
Out of 75,000.
175.
Oh my
175.
God.
What am I getting back after taxes?
$4. No, about half. Yeah, let's say you're
Like
getting
I would take. I think. What
take
if I
everybody out to eat?
take them to a very nice meal?
That's nice. That's nice. And then maybe the person. How about the person that put in the $25 of lottery tickets?
Huh? The person that does the lottery ticket?
Like who gifted?
Who like? Let's say I was the one that gave the 20. As that was the gift, and you happened to get it. You won 175,000. Are you just taking the whole party out, or are you doing something for the person that put in the?
Probably give that person 1,000.
That's nice.
That's nice.
It's very nice.
Nice.
I'd like that. That's fair. More than fair.
So buy me some lottery tickets, Jason.
Exactly.
I get you a pair of shoes too.
A pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Nice ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
Believe it.
All right. Let's do a couple of things that happen on this date. I'm gonna guess that neither of you on this December 27th had even seen the show, but it debuted in 1979. Nighttime soap opera, Knots Landing.
What is it called?
Knots Landing.
No.
1979 is old. I didn't see it. No, I knew of it. On this date in 2002, it was once a play, but the movie Chicago was out in
Fabulous.
theaters.
Yeah.
You saw it?
No.
Oh, fabulous. All right, let's do it. Let's give you some celebrity birthdays. Happy birthday today on this December 27th to the lovely and talented Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, yay. Our Dune boy, and among other things.
I guess got.
I'm gonna say 23.
28. No, 28. Yeah, give it to me.
28, no, 28. He is 27, no, 27.
Ah!
Yes. Happy birthday to, let's see if Simone knows him, Bill Goldberg.
Nope.
Former wrestler, former football player.
All
It's
right.
been a couple of
Former
movies.
Sacramento Surge.
That's right. Chris knows him.
Wow.
So Bill Goldberg. Let's have Simone guess.
Let's just do a nice 55.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess 59.
Simone for the win. 56. 56. All right. Happy birthday to, I think we can say it, he's America's quarterback, Brock Purdy.
Yeah.
The young fella from the 49ers. All he does is win, no matter what. How old is Brock Purdy
Oh,
today?
he's young. He's a young pup.
23.
23. All
Yeah.
right, Simone.
I think it's 23 too, but I'll do 22.
Okay. Your instincts are right. Chris, 23, right on the nose for Brock Purdy. Happy birthday today to Nick Chubb, running back for the Cleveland Browns. Happy birthday, Nick Chubb. He's had a really good season.
Give me 27.
27 with hesitancy.
Yeah.
Chris?
I'm gonna say 29.
27 it is.
Yes.
Happy birthday to Today Show, Savannah Guthrie,
Okay.
host of the Today Show.
Like I know the name, but I can't picture the person at all. And I'm picturing someone like maybe like 56
Is she
or
blonde?
Yeah, let me see if I can pull up a picture.
29.
No. It's like 48.
See,
Have some tenure.
Does that help you guys at all?
Yeah.
Okay.
See, look at that.
I'm going to say she is.
No, even I'm changing my number. 53.
41.
Wait, 41 and 53.
Yes.
We went. And what was your original guess, Chris?
Huh?
I think it was
No,
me.
I said it could. Oh, yeah.
I said 47 initially.
And you went on the picture. You went to 53.
Sorry.
And Chris, you said 41.
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Where are we at with Savannah Guthrie? She's 51.
Yeah. I'm killing it. The bullpen's coming in strong.
Happy birthday to former Bengal, Cardinal, and Raider quarterback Carson Palmer.
Jeez, man. 31.
40. What?
Is that too young?
41.
He is 43 today.
He's youthful.
Yes.
Youthful.
Happy birthday to Kansas head coach, basketball, Bill Self. It's been around a little bit.
Chris?
63.
I'm going 66.
He is 60 today. Happy
Dang.
birthday to Bill Self. Happy birthday to another college basketball coach from Gonzaga, Mark Few.
I'm going 66 again. Is he too young? He's really young, isn't he? Nope. Just lock me in at 66. I won't say it. Another word.
I love the thought process.
See, I'm going to play the game here. 65.
Going one under? Well, he and Bill Self were born on the same day. They're both 60. Same year, same day, same everything.
Twins.
All right, one last one. It's another college basketball coach, but we're going to the Wayback Machine. Used to have 40 minutes of hell at Arkansas. Nolan Richardson.
40 minutes of hell means
I'm going to
about.
give you guys a picture, too.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah, I'm going to need that.
He coached former King Corliss Williamson, so he's been around.
Oh, so he's like 113.
Yeah.
Wow, come on.
Contextually.
I'm going to say.
Wow. Give me 80.
74.
74 and 80. 81 it is. Nolan Richardson.
The girl.
You guys did it. I love the thought process behind both of your guessing.
You were letting me pick first, too, Chris. Not appreciated.
That was smart. Well, that's going to do it for us today. Our thanks to all of our guests today. We were supposed to have Matt Barrows. Hopefully, we'll effort to get him another time here. Thank you to Sean Salisbury. Thank you to Simone. Thank you to Chris. Tonight, we do have Kings basketball as Sacramento. Again, I don't love this schedule potting that they have. Back-to-back home games with the best team in the West, the Denver Nuggets. We'll see how effective and how much of an impact Domantas Sabonis will have tonight. But our pregame coverage will begin. We'll have game night at 5:30. We'll have the pregame at 6:30. And, of course, the G-Man will have the call tonight of the Kings and the Denver Nuggets. So until then, enjoy your day. Be safe out there. It's a little wet and wild, but have some fun. Be safe and enjoy your day. I'm Jason Ross. That's it for us here on Sac Town Sports. See ya.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
You hear the phrase a lot this time of year, happy holidays. But holidays are not always happy, particularly for guys grappling with a divorce that they didn't choose. These men need more than the help of a good lawyer. They need the hope and encouragement of a good friend.
Contact Cordell & Cordell to schedule an appointment with one of our firm's Sacramento area attorneys, a partner men can count on. Online at CordellCordell.com. 500 Capitol Mall, Suite 2060, Sacramento, California, 95815.